be ordered. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank you all for attending tonight for our workshop. Township Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this audience for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the board. Each person addressing the board supervisor is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
First up is Mark Murphy.
Just so I'm straight, we're allowed to talk about anything now because last time we were only allowed to talk about things on the agenda and not.
Correct.
So we're good. Okay. So I would just like to talk about a letter that was read at the end of the supervisors meeting last time. It stated that our taxes went up 67%. They did in 2023. That was because of a 7.5 fire tax, which was put in to have the township covered 24/7, to buy all the new employees' equipment, to buy them whatever type of equipment they needed, uniforms. And it was said that that was supposed to cover the ladder truck 100%. That was never the truth. It was also stated that the public works director estimated we have between 5 to 7 million in deferred maintenance. I'd like to know what kind of deferred maintenance you were talking about, if you could get back to me on that. You talked about MS4, which is required by the state, but I believe KLH has reduced our plan by 75%. And you may be able to talk on that more than I could, Jordan, but that was a huge decrease. You also talked about $100,000 that was supposedly in there for MS4 that I think you said it's missing. I'll give it to Peter since he's down here, but here's all the line items, where it's at, where it went. It was never missing. Peter, if you have any questions, you can talk to Marie. You also stated about the stormwater and that all our pipes are worn, or a lot are worn out and collapsing, like what happened on Berry Road. Do you have any engineer report or cameras of these deficiencies of all these pipes you're talking about? And I'd just like you to note that on Berry Road, the 2 original pipes that were there are still there. You can ask Ken Montgomery, he's here. They didn't collapse. They weren't worn out. The pension check that was sent late, because this is from you guys, you talked about that. Unfortunately, it was deposited in the general fund. We now have a policy, which Marie's very well of, that will never happen again. And the amount paid into the police MMO was $34,656, not $50,000 that you stated. And once again, there's the paperwork. Lastly, you were talking about our Parks and Rec, which really upsets me. Do you know how many Parks and Rec we have? Do you know how many parks we have?
Mm-hmm.
How many?
You have Streeter, you have Billy Bell. There's a small park behind Pancake Fire Hall. You got Driscoll, and you've got Community Park.
All right. You said that there were standards that weren't up to standards.
Correct.
Do you know what those standards?
Mm-hmm.
What standards weren't just up to standards? What are they?
Kevin can speak to that tonight.
No, what are they?
Hmm?
He must have told you, what are they? No, I'm not deferring him. You said it, not him.
Well,
You said it, not him. All right, I'm gonna go on the road. I'll keep going on. So the only thing that our parks are not up to standard on, which I'll be glad to give it another letter, is signage. I don't have it. Kevin, you could speak to, it's a sign that says you can't have necklaces around your neck, you can't have drawstrings, you can't have any equipment supposed to have stickers on them that say that they're per age 2 to 5 or 5 to 12. Everything else in our Parks and Rec is, so going on with that, I commend Kevin, Jeremy, they went to a playground safety inspection course over in Bethel Park. They said they loved it, but they didn't pass the test. So they're really not certified playground inspections. I can promise you, here's mine. 1980, 98. I did. And Kevin will tell you that we go to playgrounds all the time. Kevin Driscoll, you had an issue out there this year with the panels. He said, Mark, could you go check it out? I said,
Mark, you're getting close to your 3 minutes, by the way.
rope it off. Well, Rich said I could defer to his, but actually I'm done.
All right. Thank you. Who do you have
Appreciate
next?
it.
Next up is Paul Winter. Michelle.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'd like to point out that the Park and Rec previously had support from members of the board, particularly one supervisor that served as a member, actively participating by going out and recruiting a sponsor for us for Community Day, all on his own, volunteering to contact vendors and even setting up the specifics for that. I'm surprised to know that he has opposed and wanted to fund the Parks and Rec. He's attended meetings as a member, shared your thoughts, your inputs, your ideas. You voted in favor of our actions that we presented, and now you don't want the Parks and Rec to be in existence. I hope that you weren't attending the meetings to gather information just to share with others to use against us. I recall you never being in opposition of anything that we set out to do. I respectfully ask that you reconsider the proposed reduction to the Park and Rec budget and allow funding for the commission to remain. I would like to highlight that we operated responsibly and, for the record, significantly under budget while still delivering well-attended and meaningful programs. Eliminating or significantly reducing would impact our ability to continue offering families, children, and seniors the events they've come to rely on. Residents are already reaching out about the schedule of events for this year. Given our demonstrated fiscal discipline and our positive feedback received from residents, we believe that this funding is both reasonable and justified. Senior citizens, for instance, did a lot of our township enjoyed and look forward and greatly benefited from our bus trips. Many would not otherwise be able to attend the musicals, the train ride, or venues, or have a group dinner because they don't feel comfortable or safe driving. The township not only provided access to experiences, but also gives social and connections and quality of life. And I want to mention that those bus trips were always filled. We had a wait list, and when there were non-residents on that list, they were charged more. And it was very little cost that came out of our budget for those trips. And in regard to the hayride that was mentioned, I don't know where that information came from. Somebody provided somebody with some false information, but it's irrelevant now. The $18, $19 that was mentioned, that's just for a scenic ride to the hayfield. It did not include the marshmallows, the bonfire, the apples to roast. It didn't include any of that. Kennywood, yeah, you can go to other townships and buy it, but we were the cheapest. We made it more affordable. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else, Mr. Stefanski?
There's no one else signed in. We do have.
Here's a letter that was submitted by a resident. It says, I realize our supervisors want to be fiscally responsible and live within one's means is vital. Each line of the new budget should be addressed and thoroughly discussed. This leads to my concerns of public safety. Yesterday, I accidentally set off the smoke detector. My security system notified SST Fire Department. The fire department was in my driveway before I was able to notify my security system that it was a false alarm. This is a testament of their rapid response. There is no price that can be placed on the safety and security of our residents. Knowing that we have a reliable fire and police department is invaluable. I urge our supervisors to avoid cutting any monies from these two departments. Essential services such as public safety is primary, non-negotiable duty of local government. Thank you. Thank you considering my suggestions. Linda Rumbach.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
It's also, you guys might have got this letter. I got
Yeah,
this. How about reading these two also? Good.
This was from a resident on WJPA radio on Thursday morning at 6 a.m. The South Strabane budget was on the radio with cuts to fire and police. This is not.
I can't see. What does it say?
Mason
Town
Ma-
or Daisy Town?
Mason Town or Daisy Town. We have major roads, 79 and 70. Flyovers. Why do you that UPMC isn't investing millions? It's because of the region. If I had a loved one in a 13-car wreck, I would want tons of people answering the calls. You are endangering people's lives by cuts. With these cuts, could we be life? Could we be life violated? I think
Something goes wrong.
if something goes wrong because of a shortage.
I thought the same
Olivia
letter.
Lyons.
It's a different letter.
Whose letter is that from?
And this is from
Olivia Lyon.
Olivia Lyons. Park and Rec Board have been a big part of our lives. At this time, it is very important for people to survive well, to love events, that people are holding souvenirs, not protest signs. The word F means fun and friendly on these trips, not pushing and shoving, just names, smiles, and laughter. I will never forget Elkins, West Virginia, Phipps Benedum Center, and Gateway Clipper on Light Up Night. Great times. At 79 years old, these trips are a breath of fresh air. Olivia Lyons.
All right, that's it for public participation. So once we start this process, the question and answer will be between the members of the supervisors and those department heads are here to go over the budget with them, okay? All right, who's first up? All right, Kevin, talk loud so we're gonna hear what you have to say.
Yeah, we're basically here to go over the budget.
You have any questions? Have you seen what the board has proposed?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you agree with it or you disagree with it?
No, just some questions Marie answered for us was my wages for our employees, our pension. There were some cuts in there. I don't know why they were in there, and really, I don't think they can be with the union contract.
Why would it be cut? They're under contract, these guys.
I don't know.
Well, I can't answer him. I don't know who brought that up. Okay, you want,
I don't know anybody cuts your
you
contract.
want to do line by line?
No, that was just my concerns was the employees, because they're set wages with the working on a contract right now, so obviously it's probably gonna go up, I would say. Other than that,
Uniforms.
one of my concerns was, I know you saw a increase at Billy Bell Park, that 11,000. That increase, usually we're generally around 7,000 to 8,000. That's expenditures with the porta johns, all that stuff. I put an increase in there for mulch at that playground. I'm 6 inches low right now on that. It's going to take 3 triaxle loads. So triaxle load last year was right around $530 a load. So we're looking at that. Each park basically gets a little bit of mulch every year, but Billy Bell right now, it's failing. It's not unsafe. It does not pass. We had an issue there. We had a water problem. Yes, we had to put a drain in to get that water, wash that playground out. That's why the mulch is gone, plus settling because it is a newer park.
Every year we kind of add to it, but the new parks, you got to put a little extra.
The other reason for the increase at Billy Bell was I got some walking trail repair. I've had residents request that. Without asphalt, new prices. I don't have a real good total on that, but so that, and was really looking to think about putting some infield mix on them ball fields up there because it's a lack of, we haven't done that in a while, and it's gets used a lot by the park with Shetland kids, smaller kids. So
Kevin,
yes.
didn't you discuss this during your budget workshop?
I don't think we went too in detail. We didn't go too in detail with the parks because we just set them line items. So I apologize if I didn't bring that. What's that?
This is new information.
It was information that I knew that needed done, and me and Marie talked about it.
Did you bring this up with the budget?
I did not. No.
I thought we did.
General maintenance, yeah. Yes. Yes. So I apologize if I did not bring up them prices. But that's my biggest line item there.
Okay, I got a couple of questions.
Mhm.
When our township manager quit, we were each given a department to oversee.
Yes.
I was given the road department
Mhm.
to be a liaison with the township.
Yes.
We sat down one day and Kevin told me about a lot of deferred maintenance that hasn't been done. And I said, did you ever tell the supervisors? No, I told Jeff Ziegler. Jeff Ziegler never told us. So would you, in just a brief synopsis of where our storm sewer system is and about the
Sure.
places that we have water that we're going to have to probably procure land to deal with runoff and just, because everybody needs to, they should know this.
Sure. So
And
guess-
I can't help it. The supervisors were never told this.
right. Yeah, so me and Jeff Ziegler did talk about this. And Russ has been aware of the storm water problems that we have up in, I call it the city part of our township. We have failing pipe up there. We've replaced a lot of it.
What we were doing, Jeff, is we were following the gas and water company because they were repaving the road. So while they had the road open, we were replacing pipe and letting them pay to repave the road to save
Right.
a lot of money for the township. It was a no-brainer. So we were following them around.
So I do have I have the rest of that project coming up this year. They're doing more of that. I've already got a quote on just 2,000 feet of pipe alone is right around $14,000 just in the pipe that I have to replace. That's not catch basin repair, brick catch basins, and putting the asphalt back in. So, I mean, a lot of that is all liquid fuels funding. But liquid fuels, as Russ knows, only goes so far. when you divide it out. Far as big things, I think the kind of things that was mentioned in our talk. I gave just a off the wall estimate, but it's been I've been here 25 years. It's like reoccurrences of certain areas getting flooded all the time, and Russ knows of them. And it's like,
They were put on the list, and then that list went by. The
Right.
first one was gonna be the bathtub they called on Manifold Road.
yes, and
It's actually gonna be done, and then
right.
Brandon was in, Mark, you remember details on that?
Some of our stormwater problems on quarry, walking around with, doing damage assessment, walking around with the engineer. I mean, it's going to acquire ponds, big ponds to take care of this. And that's big money, which you're not going to do it. It probably won't be done in my lifetime here. But
And
it's
country club,
area. That's a smaller job, but the lady's been getting flooded for years. But I think we've come up with a solution, but it's going to acquire permitting and easements.
and engineering.
Yes, I would say so.
What percentage of our storm sewers would you say are hauled out, just wore out at the bottom, ready to collapse? And how old are they?
When was that hospital area built? I'm gonna say that's original pipe, I'd say.
Everything's done in the country, all new, double wall, except for one pipe and one road. All catch basins and grates were put in every road in the country. We did what you call, what's that called, we did in Windsor Highlands? It's a slurry coat.
Micropave.
Micropave to buy time so that we could pave all the roads in the country, because they're the longest roads that eat up those swim lane. So that we weren't doing things twice, so we could haul the gas and the water company. And the Patton area is the only thing left.
Patton area
Windsor Island is 9% concrete pipe.
Patton area needs storm drainage.
A little bit
Pancake
on
area
Maple,
does.
and a little bit on this.
Over at the city, all of that over there. And
You say we put a lot of pipe in out in the country?
did we? Yes, we did. We put pipe, yes. Which other area? The Woodside area, Green Crescent area. I have some pipe in there that needs replaced. I mean, it's done its time.
Now refresh my memory. Woodbury Road, when I went down there and looked at that, when that pipe washed out,
Mhm.
that pipe was rotted in two, was it not? No.
That pipe was, it's rotted in spots, but it was installed incorrectly and water hit it and pushed that up out of there.
If you have an inlet and outlet side of a pipe, before I, and it was before Mankey, that road used to be 16 foot wide. I'm not sure exactly who did this. They took a piece of pipe that was bigger than the pipe that was on the road, cut it in half, and they put stubs on both ends, which is okay for the outlet side because the water doesn't butt against the pipe. But they did the same thing on the inlet side, so when the water got so high off the pipe, you could stick your hand and arm in there. Every time it had a hard rain, it brought all the material out and it collapsed.
But our repair is no way near permanent. And next time it's going to fail again. When it does fail, it was engineered to be a box culvert bridge, which is not cheap.
If they ever straighten the road up, you want to spend that money one time, because the box culvert is very, very expensive.
And I have two other box culverts in this township that are going to need replaced. Yes, Strabane and East Simmons.
Okay, so if we come back, I know we're talking about road maintenance, all that, but in terms of the budget,
Yeah, that's favorite budget. What about, your capital purchase? You have concerns on that?
My capital purchases this year, we proposed a 2026 F600 for $140,685. And that would be replacing a 2012 F550. Yes.
Can't give numbers, the crowd doesn't understand what machinery is this? What machinery is this?
It's a dump truck,
Okay,
small dump truck. Yes, sorry about that.
all right. I want the public to understand what you're
yes, that was proposed in the budget for replacement.
See, Bill Wire works with us and the police department. For what he does, he gives you a price on
你個亂個彈頭，係遠個攀錯永
November 30th, is that right? As long as you place your order before November 30th, you get 2025.
I believe past practice was that, yes.
So he really saves the township a lot. And Bill Bonner's asked if we were gonna cut that, please let him know while it's on the assembly line, because it's easy to change the color of the tank so we can sell it to somebody else. Bill Bonner, very well. We don't wanna.
Was the purchase of that truck ever approved by the Board of Supervisors?
Budget.
No.
No, the budget was approved.
No. Mr. Rakel gave us a dissertation on that several months ago. Mr. Maple, would you please refresh
Usually,
everybody's memory?
if it's budget, doesn't mean you have to spend it, or you get the right to spend it. It has to be approved by the board. Let's go back to the thing. I'm looking at your email of January 15th, 2026, 2:06 PM. And this is directed to Peter Stefanski. You had concerns about the employee wages and benefits. You're saying that what's in there is too low, or what?
Yeah, yes. Marie said that, yes, it's too low.
What should it be?
Based on the negotiations that are happening right now, and I'm guessing we have a meeting Thursday, is that correct? With them again?
Thursday at 10.
The wages should be up to 495.9 for full-time, 495.9 is what I figured out. I know we had in there 486.7. Like in ours, and then it got cut down to 480, but if we're talking about negotiations, we need to look at that line item. Along with uniforms, it was my understanding that the board was trying to give an increase in the uniforms for Public Works, but that got cut way back as well.
What's the current contract required in terms of uniform allowance?
The uniform, do you know what that is?
Per person, what is it? 500, 600?
What is it, Cody?
$300 boot allowance.
$300 boot allowance right now.
How about, is anything else besides that, sir?
No. Well,
So-
the township has to supply uniforms, but there's not, I don't think that's in the contract.
It's not in the
What we have
contract.
to spend, it's in the contract. We have to
For
supply.
boot allowance is the only thing that's in the contract.
So if we can find a better vendor, the township has the right to go with a better vendor, but we still have to supply.
Okay, so couple things. So back to the capital.
Yes,
So there's a Bobcat excavator. And
yes,
then there's a skid steer, right?
yes,
We're paying on both. They
yes.
both around, that 48,000 covers both of them, or are they both 48,000 each?
But
Both, okay, and then you have your dump truck that's getting you to the 101 you're expecting, right?
the 101 was gonna cover, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I defer to Marie on that.
So
'cause
you're
she-
24 per year on your equipment, and then you're looking at this.
Yes. I'm proposing on that, the sale of that 2012, 30 to a high 40. That's probably gonna be a low numbers because some of these things are going for 50,000 or more on a sale.
We get a good price for it because they don't require a CDL. So you're guys we get a better price for 550 than we do for 10 because they require a CDL.
Okay,
And then with the wages, so the full-time wages were at 465, 594. If you do 4% on that, how are we getting to,
5.
how are we getting to 494?
We told 5.
Or you don't, maybe it's 5 then?
I used 5%.
Okay, and
Um,
that's fine if that's what it is. I just,
Better to be a little higher.
well, when you do a budget, you're supposed to overestimate expenditure, underestimate revenue.
well, I just thought it was so it's still not settled.
For a 3-year contract, it was 4, 3, and 3.
4, 3, and 3.
So then it would be, you'd be around the 485.
Around the 485.
And what is, what's it, what is, what do you, what's in our
They're
budget?
saying possibly 494 to 485.
What's- what-
485.
That's where we're,
What did you have, Zach, in yours?
well, right now, from the response from Kevin, I got him at 484.9. So
That's,
$100, 485.
so that's sufficient
So that
then?
would cover the
480.
4% if you did 4%. I'm not saying that's what you're
Right,
getting.
if we did the 4%, that would cover the 4%.
So what's in the proposed budget is correct then?
Yes.
Well, if they're changing what's in what we were given, yes, it was 480
Well, there,
is
we
what we
didn't
were
do,
given.
we didn't sit down with the department heads. There was no workshop done. So right now, we're in the here and now with that. So that's where we're at.
So
So that's
we're-
why I didn't know if you wanted to do line item by line item.
Right, sure.
I mean, I think it would just benefit and you'll,
Go ahead, what's the next line item?
okay, next line item is the janitorial, 20,000,
So our current,
the part-time. Is that
Part-time
what that's
person.
for, I assume.
yeah, our current part-time person is at 22.5.
Okay, 22,000.
And then overtime, I'll let,
Wage, I
Kevin.
mean, overtime, I mean, this winter keeps going like this. It's gonna, you know, I mean, I guess that is what it is, but of course, I would say with that number, I'm gonna say could be safe, but I mean, we can't do nothing about Mother Nature, so.
Well, you're saying, with the, back to the part-time, you're saying that's the new price, that's not the 2025
that is,
price.
that is the new price, 22.5.
Okay.
Is that person an employee of the township or what?
She's part-time, yes. A part-time person that cleans all of the township buildings.
Wow, you got stuck with the whole thing.
No, she's a part-time employee.
That comes under Kevin?
It comes under Public Works because that's where we budget it. I mean, we could split it
Admin.
5 different ways, but
That's fine, I mean.
whatever.
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
It just needs to be budgeted
It's just
for.
splitting.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so that's, we got that. What's next?
22.5. All right, then you got
The
overtime wages, 41.5. Good?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I think we
41.5
could,
is what we asked for from the
okay,
beginning.
yeah, I think we could live with that. I mean,
So, and then taxes, I think you were good on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those were
Other ones
good.
didn't. They were doing raises and not adjusting the taxes, and wages can't go up and taxes remain the same. They're not inversely proportional to each other. So
That's okay.
I'm pretty sure that you were fine.
the PMRS pension,
So all of the
under taxes,
pensions,
41's, I've got 46.9 on the taxes to allow for the wage increase,
okay.
right?
46.9. I'd have to put it in my spreadsheet.
And then, benefits,
Benefits went up
yep, so 158.
this year, so 158.7 is 70 is good. Pension is based on MMOs that we get every year, so that's
80, 30.
so that's something we can't change.
That brings you to, if we stick with those numbers, your contracts are not settled yet. Just for your personnel, you're at 920, 43, 430. That'd be almost 8,000 less.
Yeah, because it was 927.
All right, so
It'll
that,
be
we just keep
920.
one, like, I don't want to compare it to, it's not about who's right or wrong. We just want to get to an agreement. So the office supplies, we're now doing a PO system.
Yes, purchase order.
I can live with that number.
We're
It's-
hoping that helps.
Yeah.
So 8,500?
yeah,
Because
That's fine. I
we're
don't.
at 97,
Mhm.
so you'll probably actually do better.
Yeah, office supplies, I don't use, I have minimal usage on that, so.
Uniform 6,200. I think that's what you wanted. Or no,
Yeah,
you
as long as we
said
cover the boot
27.
allowance, yeah.
7, so do you need the 7 to cover after the amount of guys and
How many guys do you
We
have?
probably don't need the
they get pants
7.
probably too?
They don't use them.
How many
Some
guys,
of them
how many
don't
guys
use
in the
it.
union?
Where we have seven guys. in the
7
union?
guys
Yeah.
plus
300.
model uniform.
That's
what we're
2,100.
paying them.
7 people times 3 is 21. So what else? So what's,
So right
Because we had
now,
talked about negotiations about doing something different with this uniform, so I don't know.
what type of what type of uniforms do we contract them out or what?
We
Yes.
do, we go through model uniforms.
Model
There's
uniforms.
different, you can contact different, there's the other ones besides model, but
It's $53 a week.
Okay.
53.
Times 52.
Yep.
All right, so then your tools and generators, minor equipment, 7,000, like helps you with your projects that you have, yeah?
Yes.
Your one call for professional service, 11,200.
Would be okay with that.
Communications, you bumped it up to 9. Last year, the only reason we spent so much, we had to replace a repeater. So I mean, that 7 would be fine.
83, is that what you wanted?
We were at 7.
7?
Yes.
But and then you spent 8, okay, and that's why it was high.
That's
Yes,
why
there
it's
was a
higher.
repeater that we had to
So
replace.
what do you want?
7's fine on that. Yes.
And what is that 7 for? Cell phones?
So pretty much on communications, and Jordan might be able to correct me on that. That's for our radios, and Verizon and Comcast, right, Jordan? Pretty much?
Yeah, your cable and internet's at the Public Works Building.
Okay. Okay. I don't see none of them bills, so I don't know.
And we're looking at perhaps getting Starlink down there.
I think we have that, right? No, we don't.
No.
We did that for the fire alarm system, I believe.
We have a cell dialer. but
That's it.
it's different.
Yes.
So we're looking to try to save a good bit of money there.
Okay.
Then, so now we're down to the big one,
Fuel.
fuel. So that's it's a projection, hit or miss.
Yeah.
So last year you were at 35,000.
Mm-hmm.
Price is going down, but you could be out on the
Gotcha. Yep.
plowing.
Yep.
February could be horrible.
Yep.
So would 38.5 get it, or is that just complete never would happen?
I would say, I mean, we're right around there. That's just all depending on depends
We
on,
don't- Yeah, so I mean,
I think if we stay in there close, we'll be all right.
40? Are you wanting 46?
You want to go with 40? Yeah,
It's
that's fine.
high for fuel coming down.
Yes.
But you don't know what the winter's gonna be like.
I don't. No.
You
No.
got another tailwind of winter at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Well, let's go with 40 on it.
As you talk to the other townships on their paving program, that just you, many of them have a big paving program.
I haven't. No.
You need a lot of fuel up. If
Yeah.
another township has a big year.
Yeah. Last time I talked to him, I don't project him seeing that. So.
Then you're onto your Verizon. Your utilities, 34. I think that's what,
I think we had 29, right?
Mhm.
29 on that, both of us.
but you spent more last year.
You spent
You spent
36.43.
30,600. So I don't
We
want you,
made
I don't
some
want you to hurt
changes.
yourself, right?
No,
So
we,
utilities can go up.
That's a Verizon we canceled, remember?
Yeah, we canceled a Verizon thing. That was costing us money each time. And put that,
We were paying about $3,000 a year just to monitor for Verizon service for the fire alarm system.
Terrific.
That's why we spent the 2,000 on the cell dialer. Now we will not have that.
Okay, your trade subscriptions, 250. And fleet maintenance, depending on if we get you the new truck,
yeah.
or if you keep your old fleet, you had a lot of repairs last year.
Mm-hmm.
Would 50,000 cut it?
We could start there. I mean, hey,
It's another thing you don't
that's it.
know, right?
No, that's
You can come in and say the engine blew.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Flagger, 2,400.
So most of all the guys are good on that. So, I
We
mean,
said 1,000
yeah,
and then they,
we won't see no flagger training this year. No.
I just think it's high last. Okay, so 1,000.
Yeah.
And then your DOT 500.
Yeah, basically that's what it's been running.
Okay, and then now we're down to your lease payments, which are 101 for your capital, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Brings you in at 1182.80.
Hey, Kevin,
Yes.
don't go bare bones.
on
No,
You need money, you're gonna need money,
for,
anything.
right. No, I'm,
All those ones you can't determine right now. It's snow plowing, you know, how bad it's gonna get.
right.
That's one, for example. Plus, I'm thinking, it's always Mr.
He is
Maple,
high.
Mr. Maple,
Yes, sir.
would you explain again what's,
I-
how important it is to put in more than less?
I just said it's, you always overestimate expenditure,
Sure.
underestimate revenue.
Yeah.
And
He's trying to do
well, he had the vehicle maintenance at 40, we went to 50.
that's what I'm saying. What I think
Yeah.
we're,
There's 10,000 more.
I heard that.
So I mean, there are very high ones and there's ones where we met right on the numbers. So,
yeah, we're pretty much on the
Just so we
numbers.
don't
right now.
shortchange yourself.
No.
I mean, nothing is always on the
Mother
negative.
Nature mechanical. It's a guess.
Equipment rental. Yeah, the
All right,
question
what's
there.
the
Yeah,
next
I
thing
did
on
have
the
equipment
list?
rental.
The rest is the contract, so the winter maintenance. we have
Yes.
Those contracts, so that's taken care of.
So the only thing in winter maintenance, he did have a question on was equipment rental, because there was one piece of equipment.
Equipment rental, 7,500.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we bumped that
It
up
was-
there.
It was all based off of trending data, right?
Yeah.
So you were at $360 last year,
So,
but this year you have projects.
right. We wanted to do a test run on a man lift, see how it works out for us for tree trimming for a month rental, and try that out. That's why we put that number there.
Was any money put in the budget for the lights at Tanger? That's probably gonna have to come out of your budget. And at least we're gonna have to get, even if we do a streetlight district, we're gonna have to fix them before we start assessing. So I mean, there's
That's a
something
good
else
idea. We better plan for that.
that probably should, you know, we're trying to get them fixed as cheap as we can to get them working. And I've been working with Kevin to try
Is-
to do that.
Is that liquid fuels expenditure?
I don't know, some of them could be maybe.
So, anything else you have on that?
That gets him, that's gonna give him the final number.
The other half is second year. I can't remember
He-
the
he
numbers.
does.
It should still be in the computer. Kevin, do you?
He got me that.
But we
You
have
still
to.
have that?
Yeah,
Why
he got
does
that.
that have to? go
You
into
have
the
that?
budget?
Yeah.
If it's an
So
unforeseen.
it's,
I'm sure there's gonna be an increase, but.
it should, that lighting shouldn't go in this budget.
No.
All right, so got a question, so what's the total we have now?
Well, I have a couple more questions if you don't mind. We applied for a grant, LSA grant for Berry Road. How much was that, Jordan?
The county on the say grant is approximately $500,000.
Okay. Have we put any money in, if we're successful in getting that? And I think that if the residents of Washington County would want anything, they'd want Berry Road fixed. If we're successful getting that grant, I understand we have 3 years to get it. But we don't carry over that kind of money that you can just do it. You know, we don't have. And we need to start throwing money away for things like that. And that's important. And that's a heavily traveled road in this township, and it's probably one of the unsafest roads in this township, if not the unsafest road in this township.
The liquid fuels being used.
Probably for some of it, but how much have we been spending a year on liquid fuels, Russ?
Well, I always had a rollover of $175,000, because that's what it was gonna cost to replace the Boston Bridge on Strabane. That was recommended by Doug Patterson. That's how long ago that was. So I always try to keep $175,000 rollover, which isn't nearly enough. But if you do it in-house with the state grant, Kevin has the equipment now, you could probably bring that intersection up and turn it into a T intersection.
And nothing else gets done that year. I mean, yeah, but there's all your money for the year. I mean, and there's all your money for 2 years. 2 years plus, you know, I mean,
That needs to go up.
it don't work that way. It's not that simple. And
That's what I thought.
That's civic rep. We have no, I mean,
I understand that, you know, and everybody needs to know this. We are very fortunate that this township has always funded the road department. They've got some of the very best equipment to work with. We bought them the rest of what they needed last year to do pretty much everything we can in-house. You know, and sometimes it's a fine line. Do you do it in-house, or do you hire somebody, or do you bid it out to do it? If you bid it out to do it, it becomes a prevailing wage project. And that adds 40% in some cases to the cost of the contract, depending on the price of the contract. If we do it in-house, you know, that's a different story. You know, there's a lot of things that go into play there.
So where are we at?
So the final number will be 1.240230. That's a 13% increase. 139,500 more than last
Do you have any problem with that, Kevin?
No, sir. We did miss one.
Parks and Rec,
Park and Rec in admin.
What's the?
it's three, number 451.
What's down below?
That's
Yeah,
our
go ahead.
online portal that we use.
Yeah, it's down. Oh, equipment rental? No, 451.
451.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
That's the Civic Rec that we use for the online. And this past year it was 5,200 and we're expecting them to increase that mid-year, but
So you need the 61 then, so you make sure you cover it.
right.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's right, George. I think we did just pay it in this.
We just paid it.
December.
In December,
But it's due every year, right?
right, every year.
So
And
this
and
is
that's
for-
mainly for the program that allows residents, we pay $5,200 for, correct me if I'm wrong, for a program that allows residents to go in and reserve
The parks.
the parks, you know? And I have a problem with that. Very simply, how are we putting our residents first? Because anybody can go in there and do that. And I think our residents should be given first choice. Is that not correct? Was it changed? Okay, all right.
All right, so do we have everything settled in the year's budget?
pretty much other than liquid fuels, but
We didn't change anything.
we didn't really
Well,
change anything.
Liquid fuels is basically standard.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, so are you satisfied with what Zach just told you?
Yes.
Are you?
Thank you.
So it's all done with you. Okay, good.
Yep.
Who's next? You can go, Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Stay warm.
Chief,
Yes. All right.
You leave the truck in. You leave the truck.
It's just in the budget. Doesn't mean anything. It's in the budget.
But it's in the budget.
Doesn't mean you get it. Every piece of paper, it's just in the budget, don't mean you get fired. That's not how that works. Well, then, put that on the agenda, 27th, and figure it out.
It was ever been ordered, it was ever on the agenda. and it was never
Anything
approved.
under $10,000 has to be voted on. You get the 3 separate bids.
That's 21,000.
Or 21,000 for the 3 bids or
Might be
something.
26 now.
All right.
But you still have to vote on it in more than me.
Anytime you buy something.
Yes, yeah, we got it.
Can I have a copy of that?
Mine got left at home.
Just in
I'm sorry.
case one is different.
Can I have a copy?
I appreciate what we discussed about.
Thanks.
I'm good.
Go ahead, Chief.
Can I open? Okay, so the document I prepared that you have in front of you is a pretty much a rebuttal to the proposed board changes that I received. The theme of the document, it does start with more of the operation side, so it's kind of backwards from the budget line item. So we start with operations and then we come back to personnel. So it's a little bit backwards, but then they do follow down line by line. So what you're looking at is basically what the total was that requested for 2026, whether or not there was a change and what that change was from 2025. And then some of you, and the one I just gave you has the 2025 actual. I neglected to put that in the first document. My apologies. Then to take the mystery out of what these line items are, because they're far more complicated than just that one number. So I went ahead and broken down every category into every single expense where I could. Obviously, I can't do that for office supplies, day-to-day expenses, but the large expenses and what utilities are and things like that are all broken down individually to explain what everything is. And then I also went ahead and explained what those things are and what they do for us in our operations. The theme sort of the reply overall was these line items are complicated, and they're not like your household budget where you can just say, hey, I want to reduce this 10%. That's your groceries. Can you do that? Yes, you can. Can I do that in supplies? Yes, I can. Can I do that in some operations categories? No. It's more like your utilities at your house. You don't send 80% of your utility bill in because you get cut off. You want to cut 20% from your budget, you turn off your water. And that's what would have to be done for some of these things to make reductions. So that was sort of the theme of the response, and happy to go down line by line and sort of point out which categories those are, where we can cut, where we can look to reduce, and where we can talk about philosophy of budgeting. Whether you budget high or budget low is what I mean by philosophy. Anticipate the unanticipated, things like that. So I'll start with supplies. The proposed board changes were 48% of our 2025 actual. And that's what's in red. So sorry, I forgot to mention that with the theme of the document. If you go right to the red category on there where everything's typed in red, that's my response to what I was presented from the board. So that's 48% of our 2025 actual spend. Can I reduce supplies? Can I, trim the budget, tighten the belt? We all can. I certainly can in that category. That number is not realistic for me. A cut, make a cut. I'll find my way there. I'll meet it for you. Reduce the actual 10% if that's what you want to do, or come in near the actual for me and I'll get there for you. But 6,500 is just not reasonable for us for 24/7 operation for office supplies. You see the building up there. Any questions on that? Moving on to uniforms. I gave you what I felt I needed basically based on the collective bargaining agreement. You proposed no changes. That's exactly what I suggest we do there. Same thing on minor equipment for 10.26. I actually gave you a decrease for this year. We need far fewer computers than we did last year. That number was easy to trim down. So I suggested a decrease. You didn't change that number. I suggest we remain there. Moving on to professional services. This is probably our most complicated category because it's made up of so many different things. This, I'll tell you, is one of those areas. It's like your utility bills at your house. If you want to cut one of these, you're cutting a service. You're cutting a program in the police department. There's only one item in there that the price can fluctuate, and that's the maintenance of our camera systems out in the community. But that number is only 1,000 over what I hit this past year as an actual. Every other cost is exactly as it is. I will mention that, so you were working on your board changes based on trends. I get that. Okay, so we came in light on that line item this year. We're kind of hard to identify that. One, I can tell you it was a $5,000 grant that came back into that line item. That's $5,000. Applied for that grant just a few days ago. I hope to get it again, but there's no guarantee for that. Some of the other missing expenses in there are in that bottom category, the all lines. Do you see how many line items are in there? So those, Rick can explain it better, but those bills come for the whole township. And Marie works incredibly hard to try to divide them up to police, public works. And some of those expenses that I think were due to me did not make it there. They just didn't make it to QuickBooks. We paid the bill, I'm sure. And then I also noticed that some of those quarterly expenses, we only paid 3 quarters and not 4. So there's thousands of dollars in there in quarterly expenses that maybe we'll end up paying 5 quarters this year. I think that almost has to be the case. So there's missing expenses in there that they're going to be incurred. They just maybe didn't this past year for a variety of reasons. But again, my recommendation is that we don't make any changes in professional services because we will cut a program. We'll have to. And again,
If I may add something here. Thank you for bringing up that point. Marie and I discussed this briefly today. You know, Kevin picks up the custodian for the township, you pick up a lot of the IT. We were talking about just having in my business, the rental business, I call it a common rental expense.
Yeah.
It can get charged across the board. So maybe we should be unplugging those figures from Kevin's budget, from your budget, from the fire budget, if any of it's there, and just let that fee understand that it represents for all departments, and just let that be handled separately as a common township expense.
And there's some items that are just confusing along that same conversation, like the traffic signal maintenance.
Right.
You know, we make the phone calls, we call in the damage from the crashes, those invoices come to Marie pays them. Kevin never sees these bills. He doesn't know how to budget it, what to budget, because he never sees it. And he
Right.
doesn't even know what happened. So there's some things like that maybe shouldn't be in his budget, like one of those things. But you know, if you took the traffic signals and all of a sudden dumped them into my budget, and then 2 years from now, somebody's asking me why my budget went up 20%, you know, so some things maybe are better off left off where they are, but like you said, maybe a common thing where it's for the benefit of the whole township and not would make a lot of sense. And this is certainly one of them. It would save you a lot of bookkeeping effort trying to separate those within QuickBooks, because every one of our departments has those expenses, but only one bill comes, and she has to try to divide it up based on how many users I have, how many computers I have, and it's a hard job for her. Again, for the benefit, for y'all's benefit, I did break those down line item by line item. So if you have any questions, what those programs are, they're all written down there. If you have any questions on them, we can certainly discuss them at a later date. Now is probably not the best time. Brevity is not my strong suit, especially with documents. So I apologize for that, but most of what you need should be in there. Moving on to police exams recruitment 410.313. This is a very small line item, but the board proposed a change. The reason I didn't spend that money, or the reason I needed the increase, is we didn't do any hiring last year, and we anticipate doing hiring next year due to a retirement. So we need to give tests, we need to give exams, hiring exams. So that's why that number went up. So I would suggest that you keep that money in there, because we're likely going to need to spend it should we have the retirement that we're expecting.
So under uniforms, you had two new officers. Is that replacing retirees, or is that the way that you worded it, or is it just miswording?
I always budget, again, you know, budgeting philosophy. We do lose an officer from time to time, unexpected. You know, they'll go to another department or something like that, or move out of the area. And I look at, okay, well, what retirements can I have? And then I add one to it. I anticipate
So it's
maybe
not
one
that we
retirement, so I
budgeted.
add one more to it, and that's where those numbers come from. So no, I'm not trying to hire an additional officer. I didn't ask for one, and don't plan to for 26. But that's just in case. I've told most of you before in the past, I never want to come to you in June and ask you for something that I didn't ask you for in September, October, you know, during the budget cycle. So that's why that additional one's in there, just in case. Moving on to police communication 410.32. So the board proposed a decrease there. Again, this is one of those categories where to cut it is to cut a program. So it's, you turn off the internet, you turn off the phone. I don't get to negotiate those prices. So and the numbers that I've asked for are the numbers that I need to maintain what we have there. And any change will reduce or eliminate programs. So my recommendation is that we keep the number that I requested there.
That's what I have. But it was just, you're at 25.4, so we're up 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, certainly. The under was the numbers get far more complicated when we start talking about grants. So last year I had a grant to the PCCD to pay for all the connectivity in our police cars. So that number that I had budgeted for came in under, because that money from the PCCD comes back and goes back into that budget, or we just don't spend it. We use a police grants out category instead of that once that grant hits. So that was a $65,000 grant that we had for last year and part of this year.
would you share with the public that some of this too is shared with other municipalities and this is just our share?
Which parts?
I don't know that it's this, but some of the, with the cameras and stuff, were part of grants that you went to with Chartiers, and who else you were telling me?
Yes, we haven't started construction yet, but we have final approval to do so. Yeah, part of our camera system now is, well, our entire camera system is linked with 150 other municipalities. We share that data. I just gave a presentation to the LSA board the other day, trying to get some more money for more expansion. In 30 years, this is the best information sharing tool that I've ever seen in law enforcement. And the bigger we make it, the better it gets. And it's shared to all and it's shared by all, and it just works. It just flat works. So the expansion you're talking about, we helped with the grant with the LSA to expand to get 2 new municipalities on. Well, 3 actually was Chartiers Township and Houston Borough, which really means Canonsburg now because they're being policed by Canonsburg. So those 3 municipalities were added to this network by that LSA grant that you're speaking of. Should be doing that soon. Any other questions in the communications category?
Oh, we did talk about using Starlink at some of these locations.
Yes.
And the limit, taking a $200 and some odd dollar bill or $160 bill down to $50 a month.
I've got my vendor coming in to work on this next expansion, and I'm going to pose that question to him because most of our remote locations are done on a cell chip. So they're actually going down to $30 a month. Hard to beat that. But some of ours are so many cameras, so large data wise that they require that hardwire connection from Xfinity. But I haven't spoken with them about the Starlink. But I will. We'll start that conversation with that new location and then go from there. On to, I did throw the fuel in there. We pretty much hit our request within $500, $600. So I would suggest leaving that the same. And I don't think you recommended any changes. The grant expenses are just dependent on how much money we generate throughout the year. We just don't know. We chase everything we can, I assure you. Moving on to police building repairs and maintenance, 410.37. So the board proposed a pretty substantial change here. So the board change was $33,000 down from my $44,000 request. So breaking that down, if you read my short little paragraph there, the police utilities were based on actual 2025. And then there's an additional, a little more than $8,000 in required annual maintenance. And that's where we have our generator service. We have our floors stripped and waxed because we are 24/7 and we're hard on those floors and they get bad fast. You just can't clean them if I don't get them stripped and waxed once a year. The HVAC maintenance, spring, fall, plus some parts, the fire extinguisher maintenance, sprinklers. So those things those costs are ongoing, and I don't change them, and I don't get to negotiate them. So that alone puts us over the $33,000 that you proposed, and we haven't fixed anything. Budget philosophy. How do you budget for that, right? A few of you have had that conversation with me. I've been putting $10,000 in there every year. I've only needed it the one time. And so what I went back and I gave you 5 years there to show you what the trends were. So that's in that document. I gave you a 5-year trend line of what the maintenance was. And you can see why I've done the $10,000. When you're in a $5,000 commercial hot water heater, I don't know when that ever is going to happen, but the trend line looks more closer to 5. So it'd be reasonable to take my 26.5 and utilities, my 8,800, or these other line items, and then add in, say, $5,000 for maintenance. So I say you could take $5,000 off that number, and we hope that we're close to it. But there's always the $5,000 hot water heater. Sorry to keep mentioning that, but it does and did happen. So I guess that was rather long-winded. I apologize, but if you go on the 5-year trend of police maintenance, and that's how you want to do the budget philosophy that way, go on the trends, then take $5,000 off my request and leave that number in. So you can take 5,000 off the 44,334, and that will hit my 5-year trend. Understand? Thanks.
No, yeah.
Another minor line item, but the police dues subscription and memberships for 10.42. The board proposed a slight decrease from 3,600 down to 3,000. I don't have an issue with that. Some of them I can't anticipate, I don't know when all the firearms instructors dues come and go. They're good for 5 years and I don't have a trend on it, but I can live with a slight change there. My trend will show you that's probably what I spend. That's probably why he chose that number. My actual was 2665, so 3,000 was a reasonable number for you to make that change. So I'm okay with the change. I have no issue.
3,100? Yeah.
That's fine. Yes, I have no issue with that. Police vehicle repairs and maintenance. You did not propose a change in here. I don't recommend one. We may want to come back to this though when we get to discussion of police vehicles. If we don't buy police vehicles, then I suggest we revisit this one. But you can see we budgeted 45,000. We came in at 43,956. So we're pretty close on that one. So that number holds good for me unless we make some changes in budget or fleet purchases. Moving on to continuing education, 410.46. You did propose a decrease here. I'm thinking maybe you did so by trends. I wasn't able to determine why, but QuickBooks, Marie had our actual at 15,000, where I'm showing my spreadsheet $17,447. Like it was $50 off, $53 off. I would suggest we do not reduce this. You can see I've held that 17.5 request for years, and I can tell you that we have reduced the tuition-based training because the price of these schools some of them have near doubled. So the training has gone down while the line item has stayed the same. We're seeking out more free training. We're trying to do more in-house training. We are training, I assure you, but the tuition-based schools have really gotten expensive. And those ones we try to reserve for my conferences. Those I believe are important for networking and such. And I don't go to many, I don't go far away. And the other things are mostly management and leadership training, like trying to train officers to be field training officers, trying to pay officers to become sergeants, trying to train sergeants to become chiefs. That's where most of those expenses go, or our firearms instructors. We train those. So I would suggest we don't decrease
By
that.
the way, Chief, thank you. Remember, not so many years ago, or people were applying to be a sergeant. You know what happened?
Yeah.
They weren't trained.
They're getting the training.
I appreciate the training. I spend more on that.
Thank you.
Keep them trained.
The drug and alcohol testing, board proposed a change to a 4,000 philosophy of budgeting here. Really, my line item has come in under for only one reason. The machines haven't needed maintenance in a few years. I put down there the instrument's last repair was 2021. It was $1,000. That's why I put that in there. If the thing goes out for service, it's $1,000. Haven't had to do it since 2021. So it's philosophy of budgeting. I'm okay with the number, but if we need maintenance, we might go over. Next is police canine program 410.50. Our request for 26 actually went down. The board proposed an increase to bring that back up. We didn't ask for it. I don't think we need it. We can go back to our 2026. It was a modest increase, but the budget that we have here, we feel is very sufficient. And again, take the opportunity every time I can. Tractor Supply donates our dog food. So Township's never bought any dog food for our canine. Just a top bit there. So police capital, the next and the largest expense outside of salaries. So board changes. Board proposed a change from 172 down to 132. So now that you can see what those costs are, we can have a conversation about what we want to reduce or cut or leave the same. So you see the breakdown now, where the expenses are. It's body armor, it's ammunition, it's the taser program, and it's vehicles. It's pretty much that simple. So there's nothing else that's $40,000, but the vehicles are $50,000. So I asked for 2 cars for 2026, as I've told most of you before. With the fleet our size and the way we are with the vehicles and the way they're used, I will always come before you every budget year. I can tell you what I'm going to ask for next year. It's going to be 2. That's just the number that I think we need to maintain the fleet the way I would like to maintain it. we've had some discussions I've had some discussions with a few of you, and I've heard you talk about in this room that you want to get out of debt, we call it leasing, but it's actually, it's lease to own. We don't pay them and then give the cars back to them. After the financing is done, we own the cars. So we use that term, but it's actually just financing. So if it's the township's desire to get us out of police vehicle debt, if you don't buy any cars or you pay cash from here on out, you will be out of police car debt in 2027 with a $50,000 payment. That's what it's been, is about the cost of financing 2 vehicles is $50,000 for 3 years. We get 5 to 10 years out of the car, depending on what its intended use is. So if you want to get out of debt, don't buy any cars or pay cash for them. If you want to pay cash for them, it's going to be about $150,000 for 2. Again, if you want us out of debt, you're financing 4 cars next year at a little under $100,000. 2 of those are in their last year. So then in 2027, you'll make a payment on 2 of them. Again, that's about $50,000 and you'll be debt free in police cars. So which way do you want to go is the question. If you buy 2 cars a year for the police department, it's going to be, like I said, this year's dollars, a little under $150,000. If you continue with the trend of financing and the financing for every 3 years and keeping them 5 to 10 years, you're always going to have between 4 and 6 cars under finance. And that's anywhere between, like I said, it's about $25,000 per vehicle. So you're paying $100,000 to $150,000 every year to finance your vehicles. So that sounds great because it's cheaper than buying them, or it sounds cheaper than buying them, but you are paying finance costs. I know, Mr. Bull, you don't like to pay finance costs. I understand that. I like
How
to.
much is the finance cost per car over the what we've been financing them now?
I can't speak to the 24s and 23s, but I did review the quote from the 2025, our most recent vehicle purchase. That was 2 vehicles, and it came out to about $10,000 total, a little over $10,000 total in financing costs. That's for 2 vehicles, financed for 3 years that you keep. Those were patrol vehicles that you keep 5 to 6. So it is costing you a little more than $10,000 in finance charges, but those cars are smoothed out over 5 or 6 years. So $1,000 a year per vehicle, roughly, for finance charges. And you have how many up there? With 13 cars total. So that's, again, not all of them are 5 to 6 years. The ones you see that are marked on the street, 5 to 6 years is really all. I used to shoot for 5, but it looks like we're going to try to get 6 out of a few of them.
Like 5 of them at 2020.
I had last year I had 6 2020s. 2 of them are limited use. So I had 4 hard use 2020 patrol cars. We were only able to replace 2. We replaced 2 of them last year, and I still have 2. So again, if you want out of debt, don't buy police cars. We'll take those 2 and we'll figure it out. We'll get through the year. Maybe I'll take them out of service. And we'll make them limited use, but they're going to be expensive if you leave them on the road. So if we don't buy police cars, let's go back. Let's revisit the fleet maintenance. I wouldn't even know what to say. 10,000, would be reasonable.
Fleet maintenance on older vehicles is probably going to be more than $1,000.
There's always one horror story in there. The 2 last year were fine. The 2 that we kept this year, they weren't terribly expensive. But I went 2018 to 2020 with no new vehicles and held a few that were way past their replacement cycle. And one of them cost me over $10,000 to maintain that year. I have the spreadsheet to show it.
When did we start leasing vehicles? What year?
I do not believe that my predecessor ever financed a vehicle. My first vehicle purchases were, again, almost 3 years after I arrived here as chief, and they were all financed. So I believe we started with my tenure. It wasn't my decision, but that's.
And we started financing vehicles because the township was in financial difficulty.
Yeah, that was the only way to keep the rotation without the maintenance bill getting so high.
And the maintenance bill was really getting high.
Bottom line is, we started financing vehicles because the township was in financial difficulty. While we're on that, may I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Somebody had brought it up to me and I had asked you about it. Let's have the words out of your mouth. It's on my understanding that we had a couple retirements or retirement, and somebody resigned. And they weren't replaced. How many years ago was that?
I was promoted in 2018. The way I recall it, my predecessor was not replaced, and we laid off a 40-hour-a-week part-time officer. And I believe it was somewhere in 2020, 2019 that I was able to get those officers back. It took a couple of years. I don't recall the exact dates.
And they were not replaced because the township didn't have the money. They
Uh,
used the police department to balance the budget.
They were brought back.
As
Yeah, I know, but
as
they
a
weren't
first-year
replaced
chief,
at
I
the
had no
time.
idea why that happened.
Couldn't replace it at the time.
Why couldn't you, Bob?
Didn't have the money.
Oh, okay, I'm
No,
just, I mean,
just,
we gotta get back to living, if everybody in this room ran their household the way the townships run their budget, y'all would have filed bankruptcy 4 or 5 times in the last 15 years. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, if it wasn't for the American Rescue Plan, that money, which could have gone to a lot of other good things, including police cars, if we would have had that,
I don't know.
then we wouldn't be in this trouble. But that money all went to balance the budget. And we're trying to get back on good, clean, solid financial footing. And if that makes us bad people, so be it.
So, yeah, are you done with what you wanted to go through, Drew?
No, I was going to go back to personnel. That pretty much takes care of the operation side of it. I have a little bit to say in personnel, and it's not much, but we want to make sure we're asking for the right numbers and on the right page. Let's see. I'm going to do the patrol salary line item first. That's wages, full-time officers, 410.14. If you look at the 2025 budget versus the 2025 actual, you can see that I came within 2,000 on a $1.7 million line item.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we stay with my recommendation. And so the board proposed a change. That change will either not fund the salaries, or we'll have to lay somebody off, or it won't fund it. So we need at least 4%. That's the contractual wage. And some of them get bigger raise than that this year because they're on like their first 3-year pay scale. And so some of them had a nice increase this year. So we actually need more than 4% to balance that number. So I would suggest that we stay with the number that I proposed there as my recommendation.
Okay.
The wages holiday pay, again, I would suggest that we stay with the number that I asked for. The wages holiday pay is 410.17. I would propose that, again, you need at least 4% over the actual plus any extras for those other, I call them longevity increases. The longer they're here, the more money they make. Moving on, 410.18 wages overtime. In a
I think you're lowballing.
in a police environment, overtime is difficult to control. It really is. I track it exhaustively. Last year actually was, since I've been chief in 2000, since I've began tracking it in 2019. Last year was my fewest numbers that I paid out. It's still a lot of money, but a lot of it I can't control, but I do work to control it. I assure you, I sent an email to a sergeant today about something I'm trying to control where I can, and I do work to control it where I can. I would suggest that you leave it the same. Any reduction there is just going to be really hard for me to hit. My request was 133, and the proposed was 128. The board proposal.
Yeah, I hear you. But so before you did that budget, you didn't have your 25 actual.
Yeah.
So you were at 130, 135.
Yeah,
So
135.
should you go 136?
Yeah, I would recommend that.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
it
think
came in a little
upside
heavy
down.
there. Yeah, and I will
With
work to.
raises and-
Yeah,
You're still probably gonna be-
136 is a better number than I proposed at 133 because it did go over there. So the 410.192, the personal service taxes, I have to defer to Marie on
Figure
that
that
one
out,
and
yeah.
what she requests.
I'd have to plug those numbers in and come up with the taxes for those two now.
On,
Yeah, so I have, yeah, that's the only thing that you we're low on. So the payroll taxes, like wages are going up, but taxes.
But the
went
taxes,
down.
yeah,
It's
so,
impossible. So I'm thinking, so that you don't end up upside down.
right. 151, I don't know. I'd have to plug it in.
Hold on, I just lost my spot. All right, I'm back. So 153.5. You're at 148. You still might be under a little bit, but not as bad. For your taxes.
Honestly, I have no knowledge of that line item or.
Well, you were in 25, you were at almost 151. Right, so if wages are going up, your taxes.
That
can't-
needs to go up.
Your taxes can't go backwards.
Okay.
So just, I mean, it may have to be a little higher. That's a Marie question.
Again, I'm gonna have to depend on Marie to come up with that
Yeah.
number.
All right.
So the personal service benefits, again, I have to depend on Marie for that one. So whatever number she recommends is the number I recommend you go with.
Okay.
And the 2026 budget was that recommendation, correct, Marie?
Yeah, because our healthcare went up substantially, 14%.
Would you say the healthcare went up what percentage?
14% for some of it. UPMC went up 9%. Yeah,
Chief, as I told Kevin, do not shortchange yourself. The money, you need the money, period. We're gonna maintain a strong police force here.
Certainly, thank you. I appreciate that. The numbers I put before you and those same numbers that I recommended for the 26 budget, I feel are the reasonable numbers for the police department. I do work to hold the line on things year over year. I do see an increase there. I think we're up from 2025 budget to 26, slightly over 5% where we landed. 4%, a little more than 4% of that was salaries, but there weren't any big asks in there from the police department to grow any operations. It really was trying to hold the line and maintain what we have. On the pension side, I believe that the 2026 MMO has already been set, and well, that number will need to be met. And I believe that the 2026 budget reflected that MMO, so that number will need to match the 2026 budget, or we risk running afoul of the state on that one. And I believe that is all the line items that I wanted to address. Happy to take all the questions that you have.
It's just gonna come down whether we're doing 2 cars, 1 car, no car. So that's the only open end. Gotta figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of laid out really from all sides, I think. I don't think I really have anything else to add there. You know, you're ultimately the decision makers. Again, I'm always going to stand here and tell you year over year that to maintain the fleet the way we want to maintain the fleet, it's going to be a 2-car purchase. So, but hey, board wants to get out of debt, figure out a way to pay for these cars. I'm a team player. I'll work with it and I'll work through it and I'll help you get there.
All right, so
But again, I ask if that's where we go, let's not forget the maintenance side. I'd hate to come in, 25-30% over budget on the maintenance and have to answer to that too.
you have too many 2020 cars, that pack of cars is gonna still be lingering there.
Yeah. And 2 of them are more limited use. They're going to be okay for a little while. One is the K9 car, and it's the most meticulously maintained car in the fleet. Why? Because it's had 1 person in it. He takes meticulous care of it. So it doesn't get used quite as hard as the others.
So leaving the 2 cars in, it's 3.599,027. So really higher than where you wanted to be.
I'm sorry, higher?
Higher than where you wanted, yeah.
Okay.
But that's leaving the 2 cars in as of
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
And I will remind you, like we reminded Kevin, there's a procedure to buy things. This township's never followed it. It's called the law. It has to be voted on at the township meeting. Just because your budget has it in does not mean you can just go out and spend it. You know, bring it to the board and let us vote on it. That's the way it should be done. Is that not correct, Mr. Maple?
Correct.
Of course, we'll follow whatever procedures the board tell me to. That's
What's
what
the
I'll do.
law?
But I have been, and I'm not sure in the law, but the bidding law, if you purchase through Shake Hog or Co-Stars, you don't need bids, is my understanding of Pennsylvania law.
That's what he's trying to say is that any large purchases should come through the township supervisor and the township man. That's what he's talking about.
Certainly, and that's your procedures. That's what we'll do. I have not been asked previously to do that. So 2000, been buying cars since 2020. If they were in the budget, then, you know, the manager signed off on me buying those cars that were in the budget. Of course, I always consulted with them
That's not the
first.
law. That's not the law.
Yes.
Just another point of clarification, I know that Chief Bill probably dealt with this too, but for all of the vehicles that we get being manufactured by Ford, during COVID, we could not get them unless we started to order them a year to 2 years prior to when we needed them. That hasn't recovered yet. So what we did was submit a purchase order for the vehicles. The township still has every right to be able to pull that if they had to, similar to what Russ said. They have no question as to whether they could sell it to someone else. However, had we waited, there's a question as to whether we could actually be guaranteed a car for next year.
Yeah, when I was finally told I could buy police cars, the wait time was like 15 months. So,
I think, one second.
it's
No,
so.
but I think what he's trying to say is that we could be instituting a purchasing policy, basically, that things of certain amounts have to go through a certain procedure. And I've always, throughout my career, I've always find it somewhat problematic that people say, well, it's budgeted, I can spend it. If it's a significant purchase, then I always have a problem with that. So certain purchases should come through the board of supervisors. And I think that's what he's talking about.
Certainly understood. Please, can we note the status of the cars though? Just like Kevin and just like the chief alluded to, because of those lead times, we've been ordering those cars when the budget passes, and these cars were ordered when the budget passed. They're not in yet. We haven't paid for them yet. With as difficult as it is to get cars these days, we might upset the car dealer, but I would imagine they'll be fine to get
So
rid of
they
them.
are on order.
They are ordered, yes.
Okay.
I agree with you, Jeff. It's just the way they did it in past managers. When we presented our budget, then we presented our capital purchases at our budget workshop.
And all it had to do was be on the agenda to approve the purchase. I mean, I get it. Nobody's saying you didn't do it, you didn't do what needed done, but there's a procedure you have to follow. And that's just the way it needs, that's just the way it needs to be done. Let me ask you one question, two questions. Number one, the budget we threw out for discussion, how many police officers were you asked to cut?
I wasn't asked to cut any. I just saw a line
Thank
item
you.
where there was a reduction
Yeah,
that we couldn't meet.
Yeah.
Contractually, we
And
couldn't meet.
that's why.
But no,
I was
I was not asked to cut any police officers.
And that's, okay, thank you. Just, everybody thinks we trying to cut everybody, and that's, nothing could be further than the truth.
No, sir, you assured me when we met the first time about that it was not your intention to cut any
Yeah.
police operations.
It never was. Now, I will tell you this, one of the supervisors has always said to this board, the law says you have to provide fire protection, doesn't say you have to provide police. And South Strabane wouldn't be South Strabane without both. South Strabane wouldn't be South Strabane without the good roads that we have. And I think the banter there is, let's get back on point. Let's do what we're supposed to do for the public and pay for that. Then when we get that right and we start living within our means and don't have to raise taxes for the people that live here, then we can do other things. And the other point, the reason your supplies was cut is we would like to go to central purchasing. So rather than you cut 10 purchase orders a month, 15 purchase orders a month, the office will buy supplies that can be used by the road department, that can be used by the fire department, that can be used by the police department. You just come down, you just have your administrative person send down a thing to Jolene, have these ready. We'll put out a request for proposal once every month or two. We buy a lot of things online. Well, we have a couple places in this township that you can buy office supplies at, one being Sam's and one being Office Depot. I like to buy things local. I think that's important. And I think we need to start doing that. And another thing is just going to simplify the purchasing process and how many POs are processed. And it's going to cut down on a lot of the overhead time to reconcile credit card statements and everything else. And we're hoping in the process, maybe we can save $5,000 or $10,000, $15,000 a year.
Good, thank you.
No, thank you. I want to tell you something. Doge would be proud to have you sharpening the pencils, because if anybody I ever saw do a budget, man, you're tight. You do a good job. You do an excellent job.
I waste a lot of ink.
And a lot of worrying too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks. Next up, Fire and Emergency Services.
No, let's
It's
We're still
because,
gonna have to have a
because
meeting
you're still gonna have to have, you're still gonna have to have a meeting Thursday. This is your input.
Yeah, well, you gotta get.
So basically, what we're gonna do, this is just to go over it.
Okay.
Now, Thursday, we'll have this budget more, more in place.
Yeah.
So, and that way you guys can figure out where you're going in terms of the whole situation.
They've worked hard to get it ready. Least we can do is spend the time to listen to them.
And we appreciate that ability to sit with you all face to face to go over it. I'm gonna use, well, would you like me to go line by line?
It's up to you, however you wanna do it.
All right, I'll hit on some of the things in the memo that I'd sent this past Friday first. These were kind of the ones that really stuck out to me. I certainly understand and respect the board's intentions to essentially sharpen the pencil, try to cut some spending where possible. And that's one of the reasons that, there are several line items where we might have lost somewhere between $1,000 to $5,000, and we can figure out ways to live with that. I'm not even going to spend too much time trying to focus on those. There were a couple that were concerning to me that I'd like to bring up and hopefully see if we can do something to improve them. Over the past 3.5 to 4 years, the Department of Fire and Emergency Services has made significant strides to improve ourselves as a whole, not just the volunteer side, not just the career side of the department. We've done that together, and we had a lot of work to do. And some of these programs are very important to kind of see that progress. One of the items that was started in 2022 and still continues now is the volunteer stipend program. We have an agreement with the volunteer fire department, I believe in 2020, or I'm sorry, we signed the agreement in 23. But in 2023, we had $12,000 budgeted for volunteer stipends. And those stipends, I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but if somebody spends about 4 hours at the station, for example, they might get about $20 or $25. So it's not really, it's not meant to pay them hourly. It's meant to show that we appreciate their time. I had one of the members explain to me that his wife was a little bit more okay with him going down to the fire station, spending a couple hours every week there because they were at least offsetting it a little bit. So it's not a part-time job. It's really not going to do much, but maybe it buys some birthday gifts or Christmas presents. In 2025, we spent about $7,500 on the program. And based on that, I assume that's where that suggested cut came from for $8,000. Based on the agreement that we have with the volunteer department, we were supposed to budget $16,000 for it this upcoming year. As you can tell by the fact we only spent $7,500 last year, if we don't need it, we don't use it. So, that remainder stays in there. It goes back to the general fund. One of the things we are trying to improve this year is getting back on the volunteer duty shifts.
trying to increase those. We have several new volunteer firefighters who are starting their training. And again, this is one of the incentives to kind of get them through the door. It's not gonna make sense for them to stop their part-time job or anything of the sort, but hopefully it just shows them that we appreciate them being there. So that's the first one that I wanted to take a look at and discuss. And our $16,000 is a very, very small fraction compared to most other communities around us. And it's not just Peters, North Strabane, Cecil. You can even compare that to North Franklin, Canton Township, Chartiers. They put a lot of money into their stipend programs, and we are, maybe 15 to 20% of what some of those communities are spending. Granted, we have 24/7 staffing, which is fantastic, and gives us a great level of service, but our supplementation by the volunteers that are on duty shifts are very, very important. So, any questions on that? Keep rolling. All right.
Well, thanks for getting us that contract today, because we weren't aware of that.
Sure. Yeah, I did provide the original one, but I understand it wasn't the actual executed copy, so.
I like to see executed copies.
Sure. All right, so going through with the volunteer fire department specific costs, the fire department insurance, you actually have increasing a little bit. The line item that we had put in for the budget, the 38,537 was actually put in before we got the amount for this year. And it did increase based on our flood claim last year. We had a vehicle claim. So that actually does help us out substantially because we would have been over budget.
So 45,600, good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Building maintenance and utilities, that's one where we'll figure it out. We're losing about $5,000 there. As we all know, utilities are increasing substantially. Another part of that contract with the volunteer fire department is that at the end of each year, we take a look at what the expenses had been for utilities at the fire stations over the previous 12-month period. And we budget 50% of that to contribute to them for the next calendar year. So you all know that's gone up significantly. That amounts for both of our fire stations, somewhere around $50,000. But that's all inclusive of electric, sewage, water, gas. So of that budget line item, about $26,600 is going towards utilities. And again, our firefighters are within those stations all the time. So that was one of the areas that we really felt would be a great way to show our support to the organization. And it's worked out well since then. I'm going to touch on the staffing here in a little bit, but just to swing down through supplies. So we went from 6,300 to 4,000. Our actual spend in 2025 was $4,800. The reason that I didn't really put a request on my memo to you is, I'm interested to hear what the board is willing to do. I understand we're going to need to come down from the 6,300, but trying to see it somewhere around $5,000, I think would be helpful. Our call volume continues to increase. So that supplies is not just office supplies and whatnot, but it includes if we have to buy caution tape, oil dry for apparatus, everything that kind of happens within the firehouse. We try to cover some of those operational expenses from the municipal side. And the volunteers also purchase some things from their organization as well. All right, as far as medical supplies, so this past year we spent just over $9,000. The board had increased it probably based on, again, that average. I actually think we're pretty good with keeping it at 9. I wouldn't expect that we increase to hit that 10. Now, the uniforms is one of the parts where I think we're going to have difficulty. So we had 12,250. That was brought down to 10,500. Some of the things that come out of our uniform allowance and some changes that occurred due to the collective bargaining agreement, our firefighters now receive an equipment allowance, which they did not previously. So that is coming out of the uniforms as well.
Actually bumped you up.
Okay.
So you're low. So you spent 12,500, so I got you 12,004. And you wanted
12,250. Yep.
So 12,4?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Minor equipment, We had 9250 is our request, which would continue with the 2025 request. That was brought down to $8,000. That's another one where, we can make do. We had some special projects and some things that we had to replace this year. Minor equipment within fire, as I'm sure it is in police at times, we can't budget for every single thing that has to come out of there because, oftentimes it's the $2,000 piece of equipment that breaks. And that's what that line item is used for. All right, communications. Yep, we appreciated that. Fuel's one of the big ones where I had concerns. So we had originally had 37,750, which was our budget for 2025. And I do agree that we can likely bring that down. Fuel costs are going down. We've discussed several times trying to work with our vendor that does public works fuel to see if we can put a tank at one of the fire stations to reduce the cost we're paying per gallon. Because sometimes they either give them for free or they'll lease them out.
What if we would put one at the Public Works Department that they can use, you can use, and you'll have a fuel card to enter your miles, and you'll have an employee code to use it. You go there to get your DEF fluid anyway. Probably almost half your vehicles use DEF anyway.
Yeah.
If I know I don't know how you're doing it now exactly. It's supposed to be a discount program. But if we can do it in bulk and save a lot of money, savings are what go to other things.
Sure. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. What we're paying per gallon through our Sunoco program, which is again a CoStar's program, I mean, it's nothing compared to what we're paying per gallon of diesel being delivered to the public works facilities. My only concern is that it takes us out of our primary area where we get frequent calls. Our apparatus are going at least once a day normally to go get fuel. But again, I mean, it puts us in another spot of the community. I'm up for trying to reduce the cost on fuel however we can.
When you keep both.
Sure.
Maybe we put the truck at.
It's on a uses.
Pancake, and the road department can get the fuel there. I mean, we can look at, maybe we put it here. There's things we can do to, if the savings justify the expense of putting the tank in.
Absolutely.
We discussed this 2 years ago, I believe. If you keep it under 1,000 gallons, you can use a double wall tank like we did on the road. We put that in ourselves. Put in the bollards, we put in the concrete, we ran the conduit and electric. That could be done as long as you keep it under 1,000 pounds. If you go over 1,000 pounds, it has to have a spill catch in the ground, and it becomes very, very expensive. And that runs off of 110. It'd be very easy to put one at the fire station. We did discuss this a few years ago, Joe, and there could be savings there. The nice thing about having the road department would be boat tanks would be there. It would be easy to fill. I don't know how they would still have to do 2 tickets. But like you said, it takes you out. But you have plenty of services at the fire station. It wouldn't be that hard to put valves, concrete, run some conduit. They have all the equipment to do it. So you could do it at either place. And the road department would do the work. So we did that.
Yeah, and Kevin and I have talked about that a little bit too, because even currently, if we're over near the road department, we'll fill up or top off if we need to there. If there were another tank at one of the fire stations, vice versa, if they're plowing or something, they could do the same. But yeah, I think we could definitely reduce that category in hopes of trying to get fuel a little bit more cost effectively.
And one big storms, it would be nice.
So your current service that you have, if you were out on a call and you needed fuel, would they bring it to you?
No, so it is just through Sunoco.
So it's just, you gotta get to that.
Correct. And that's actually one of the difficulties. If it is after, I think they both close around 10 p.m., we can't get the large apparatus into the one on Mertland easily. So most of the time we have to go all the way down to Racetrack Road currently. So we're using a good bit of time and fuel to get to that Sunoco station with diesel. We're paying less per gallon per diesel than we would at Speedway or Sheets. But once they close, if we have to fuel an apparatus overnight, we're stuck with going to Speedway or Sheets, and we lose that discount that we would receive if we were to go to Sunoco.
Well, I'm gonna use GGC Bus Company as an example. They have an above-ground tank with a tank with a cover over it, and they have a system. Put the card in that stays in the vehicle, put your employee number in, you enter the miles on the vehicle, and it's all done automatically, and a report goes back to the township as to how much fuel is used, and that allows you to allocate the expense to each department.
Sure.
And maybe we need to consider doing that.
That's what you have now, right? A WEX card?
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
That's what
Yep.
it is. That's what
Yeah.
WEX is.
In the back end is nice for us to be able to see, who put the fuel in, to what vehicle, what time, where it was at.
Yep.
So those things would be nice if we were able to have a tank somewhere and still have that information.
Yeah. Well, that's just something we'd like to look at to see if there's
Absolutely.
any savings. And now you're telling me that sometimes it's a problem after hours, that's something that could be
Sure.
taken care of.
Yep. Yeah, I think we definitely see some savings there. Go down to fire hydrants. That's another one where when we were budgeting this, we were about three months from the end of the year. Fire hydrants ended up being more than we had
78.5?
budgeted. Yes.
All right.
So I think that's gonna allow us to stick within that. All right. Vehicle maintenance, meetings, conferences, those are all things that we can withstand. Drug and alcohol testing, recruitment and retention, as well as fire prevention and community outreach. Those two categories are important. That actually funds a lot of our programs, but we can find some, we'll find some grants. I just got word earlier today that Kelsey was successful in a $5,000 grant from the IFC to reimburse the volunteers for a lot of the money that went towards the kids camp. So we'll continue to look for those types of grants to support those programs. But again, those decreases, I think, are things that we can withstand. So going up to full-time wages, this was one of my categories that I was pretty concerned about. That was the most significant drop in our budget. So our proposed wages for 2026 go from 798,000 down to 700,000. So a $98,000 decrease. And again, I'm assuming you were going heavily off of what we'd spent the last several years. One of the things that occurred in 2025 was we operated down a person for a few months to allow an acting captain to try out the spot. We had a firefighter that was very, very seriously injured in a car accident. He was off for about 3.5 months. He's still off. And then we had another firefighter with a significant surgery that he had to have, and he was off as well. So our full-time wages were lower than they likely would have been. As a result, that's actually one of the reasons that you see that I exceeded my part-time budget significantly. We had budgeted $60,000 for 2025, and we ended up spending almost $95,000. That was to cover all the shifts from the full-time firefighters. So that's one of the categories that I'd like to have some discussion about. I put some time in earlier today and did some calculations. There's room that we can decrease that.
So you were, without taking into account the guys that were down, you're at 606,000. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
So adjusting for the annual raises, are 52 weeks at 48 hours a week, which is what our firefighters work. And then the training that they attend and shift coverage, I think we could probably get it done for like 735. That includes a $12,000 contingency because about halfway through the year, each firefighter goes up one step in their wages. So most of our firefighters are 4 years or less within the township, and they get 2 raises a year technically. So that's a significant bump for each one of them.
So what do you need? What are you saying here? What's your amount you need?
735.
735.
735.
Instead of 798.
That's based on nobody gets hurt, best case scenario.
Best case scenario, yeah.
Live in that world. You
Yeah.
can't do a what if on every line item.
Yeah.
And our hope is to have enough padding in the budget, so when we have an oh shit moment, it's not a problem. We
Sure.
just take care of it and get on down the road. That's the way it should be. you know?
Yeah, I totally hear that. Something I think probably echo Chief Hilt's comments. I'm far more wired to try to budget a little bit higher, so I don't have to come back to you and say, we did go over on our overtime, or we did go over on part-time wages, but I understand the direction that the board's headed in and interested in, so we can adjust to that and meet it.
And to be fair to Drew, thank you. How many officers did this propose, the numbers we proposed out there? How many firemen did it propose cutting?
Well, again, I didn't know until now.
Right. So we're having a
So
discussion. I don't think
looking
we
at
need
that
to-
amount, a concern would be that could be a full-time firefighter.
But on the other hand, that was more than you've used in the past.
Mhm.
I mean, historically, the number started at 323 and 19.
Mhm.
They ended up in 25 at 698. You were still allocated more than you spent. So, but
True.
of course, there's always a reason.
Sure.
So, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I got you.
Absolutely.
7:35.
All right.
Holiday figure, no.
The part-time wages. Like,
Yep.
So now Brandon Newman came off of part-time and.
Right,
went
so-
Full-time, so you allowed for that, yeah?
Right, so we'd still have to promote a full-timer, but even still, that 735 includes all of those
Yeah, right.
changes. All right, so holiday hours. Again, this was the first year of the new collective bargaining agreement. So previously firefighters were not compensated more than their regular hourly rate for working on a holiday. That's one of the things that changed in this contract cycle. So we had preemptively budgeted, 23.5 for this year.
Low,
Yeah, it seems a little bit low.
29.5?
Yeah. I think that's gonna put it at our top end where we're not gonna exceed that. All right. Taxes came up again. I'm
What
assuming,
about part-time wages? Or are you coming back?
You
to
said
that?
you were.
yeah, we'll end up
Okay, all right.
coming
Keep
back
going.
down, yeah.
All right.
Again, assuming that if something wild happens, our full-time wages might come down and part-time wages might go up to cover that, but it shouldn't exceed the total budget item category. Another item that we were interested in learning more about was the benefits. So we had 175 budgeted for 2026. That came down to 165. That estimate was based on pretty hard numbers after we had gotten the cost for all of our benefits, that we would get. So that's one spot that I was looking for clarification
You
on.
were at 158, so they went up, so you need 175.
We had 75. And then I think you're aware, similar to the other departments, the PMRS, we know for a fact that'll end up being the 161, 736. So that would be the board's discretion.
What was it? About?
PMRS, the pension.
Oh, that's the next one, yeah. So what do you, you're low on that.
We're lower because of the MMO. It's
So we're good
160.
leaving it there or no?
Hmm,
Are we good leaving it low?
yes, because of the
Oh.
MMOs.
Yeah.
So
So it fluctuates
it
based
can
on,
actually come down a little bit.
All right, then the last one that we have on this page is the capital. Again, we had requested 42. You had suggested a change down to 35. That's another one that, we can sustain. We've got an AFG grant that we're working with currently to be able to replace some bunker gear. We should be able to do that out of the grant funds rather than this budget. We also, normally I budget to buy 1 or 2 portable radios every year. With the county change, we're supposed to be getting portable radios. So those are 2 areas where, I think we can.
They're in the LSA application for this year.
Yeah.
What's your capital number? What are you saying work?
You had suggested 35. We're good with that.
That will work?
Yep. All All right, the interfund transfer to capital for fire apparatus, that came down slightly. I assume using exact numbers of the payments. And that makes sense to us. With those, I try to often budget a little bit extra in case there is something that we're unaware of. But again, 192, 170 should cover both payments. And if you're good with it, I'll jump to emergency management.
But I have a question. So where are you, the money's coming from where for that again?
So that comes from the fire tax that goes into fire capital.
Okay.
And then from there, it would make the truck payments.
Is that the only thing that can be used for? Fire tax, what can it be
The
used
fire
for?
tax can be, it's specific. It could be used for fire payroll, fire benefits, fire
The
pension.
entire fire.
So,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is it big enough?
and we do.
The
I mean,
vast
we transfer
majority-
a lot of it in for payroll and different things. So
So
There
that,
are some limits of, for payroll, you can only
Mhm.
use a certain
50%.
percentage. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I got you.
so that money comes out of the fire tax. You place that in a capital fund, correct?
correct.
So yeah, if you want to go emergency management, I guess.
Okay. All right, I think this is the one where there was probably the most confusion. We have a full-time joint kind of public safety specialist and admin support role who handles a good bit of our emergency management, but several other things throughout the township, assisting other township departments, and then the fire department itself. So the budget for going into 2026, we had 20,000. The new number there was $1,600. So that is one where we just don't know what to expect or what the plan is.
Well, the emergency management came along in 24,
Correct.
but we had it prior. We still had emergency management.
We had emergency management, but what we were trying to do is actually accurately show what funds are being used for. A lot of fire departments, their emergency management costs are lumped into fire protection. And it kind of shows us spending a lot more on fire protection where it's going specifically towards emergency management. The board created that separate budget in 2024. We hired a full-time staff. Well, we hired a part-time staff member that again supported that and fire department operations to help with administrative duties. And then in 2025, I believe they were promoted to full-time. So, and it's not just fire they support, it's township administration, it's public works, the MS4 program, the recycling program, the rental registrations. Anytime we have a gap in the office, they fill in here as well. So there are quite a few things that role does.
State grants, $30,000 recycling.
So I think they actually called Marie back. We finally got a call back from the state. They've been behind on their 904 grants for recycling significantly. They said they're about to get to ours, so we'll get our 2025 funding in 2026. And they said it was going to be about 23,000.
23.
Yeah.
I think it was
So it
20 or
fluctuates a little bit. It's hard they change the rates per tonnage every single year. So our tonnage for recycling for 2025, for example, increased, which in theory would increase the grant that we get. But the DEP has the ability to flex that if they need to.
And this person does all that. Pretty much pays for herself.
Part of it, yeah.
Tell me what you want. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
What's going on here in this area? What he's talking about.
So we're just talking about the emergency management wages. That George saying that it was lumped in with the fire budget prior to.
And there,
Now has its own separate line items. That's where he's coming.
I think that it's going to be best to explain this away. When Jordan was hired to be our fire chief. And when our previous manager left, our previous manager, Jordan took over as the interim manager, and Jordan picked up some additional responsibilities. I believe one of them was recycling, is that not correct? And the township paid you an additional money stipend for that, okay? So as the township continued to pile responsibility on Jordan, Jordan probably needed help to do some of those responsibilities. And in all fairness to him, I get it. But in this meantime, we did hire somebody in the planning department, which took some of the responsibilities off the manager and took some of the responsibilities off of Jordan. And at the end of the day, Jordan's going to go back to doing what we hired Jordan to do, which is his passion, which is his love. And since he's going to be back to doing his responsibilities, and now we have somebody in the zoning or taking care of our ordinances and planning department, a lot of things, we've changed some things, and the question is, in our effort to try to get things back in line, and I'm going to give you another example of that. I was going to wait till the end, but I think this tells the story. These are 2024 figures. In 2024, our township took in $8,323,477. That was about $693 a month. Our expenditures were $8,889,248, which is $740,000 a month. So our township was running a $48,000 per month deficit in 2024. At the end of the day, it's all about getting South Strabane Township ship back on track and running right. That's what this is about. And unfortunately, there's going to have to be a few changes. But our goal is to figure out a way to keep this fire truck. I threw out something last time. We're trying to find funding. We've had discussions with people to try to get us, something to help us pay for it. Anything. We're going to have a discussion when we get through this process with the volunteers to see if they're willing to sell that fire truck and take the funds, because it's still has a lot of useful life in it. And we, for God's sake, don't have to have two. If the volunteers would be kind enough to do that for the taxpayers of South Strabane, and we can put that on it, we'd like to take, and there's some other monies that we think are going to be coming in that are going to be significant. We're trying to get the township out of reoccurring debt. So if we need something, the volunteers that I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it. Traditionally, the volunteers, the last 30 years have been treated like redheaded stepchildren. They were taught that the supervisors were the enemy and we didn't care about them. And I'm not speaking for this board. And to the previous board's credit, the previous board, the township thought through a previous manager that we didn't need the volunteers, that we could do this ourselves. Well, little did they know. So they kind of headed that direction, and that didn't work well. So Jordan was hired to put it all together and make it work. And he has done his best. And for the most part, he's been pretty darn successful. But you can't make people get up from their video game and want to go help the community. The world's changed. Okay. And there's some other things that we're looking at to try to make this work for the long term. And we have to get our financial house in order. Now, I haven't looked at this year's numbers yet from that standpoint. All this year's numbers are complete, and we can't continue this. We just can't continue this. And I God forbid, I quote a township resident from the last meeting, you know, we told everybody, give us an opportunity to fix this and we will. You know, we're just doing what we promised to do. And if that makes us bad people, so be it. And at the end of the day, hopefully South Strabane will emerge a stronger financial community. There's communities around here that you can walk to that have $5 million in the bank. There's other communities that have spent a lot of money and they're in financial trouble, bad financial trouble. And there's another community, 208, that they had in the paper that, you know, they were 34th million in the hole. You know, we don't want that to happen here.
I think if anyone, Marie and I can appreciate that very much because we put probably in the past 3 years, hundreds of hours into trying to ensure that our budget's balanced. We started this year's budget negative $750,000 because of the increase of costs between employee costs, benefits, pensions. And our goal was to be able to provide the same level of service without obviously having to raise taxes. And somehow we made that happen. And we did a lot of cuts prior to that. So we appreciate that. In 2023, when we both started to have a bigger impact on the budget, we ended 2023 with $386,000 in the general fund. In 2025, we ended with over $1 million in the general fund. We've been working very hard at that as well.
Question I have is how much do we spend on average every month? Just a question, how much do we spend every, and I've done budgets over the years. You have an $8 million budget. What do you add? What is your expenditures? Because you have $1 million in reserve.
Right.
And that's all that appears as like a month and a half of money to go forward.
Right.
So what, and your tax money doesn't come in, I think until what, April?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do from now till April?
Well, we're sitting on $1 million plus mercantile starts to come in.
Quarter.
Okay.
That's 230, 235.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, we've been
absolutely.
fortunate. We've been able to eke through.
Sure.
Let's face it, the time that pension check, I mean, the meeting we bought that, the motion was made to buy that fire truck. They were asked, can we afford this? Yes. They were asked, can we do this? Yes. Can we do that? Yes. You know, do we have the money? Yes. Okay, and the check was in the payroll, in the check read for that month. And Mr. Murphy, to his credit, saw that the balances weren't right. And that check didn't get deposited till the next year. He said it was 35,000, which I believe he's correct. What he didn't tell you was there are other pensions checks that the same thing was done to. I don't know, but I think that the bank calls that kiting when you write checks and you can't, you know, I
There
think
was
that's
just the one check and it was 32,000.
Okay, then I stand corrected. I apologize. But it's the principle of the thing. The check was written, the check was never mailed, and it was never mailed to April of the next year.
That is correct.
Because we couldn't afford to do it. And do we want to live like that? You know, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, right. We've not been. We've been working our tails off to ensure that we're building the general fund. Sure.
So where
It-
are we gonna go now?
Right, so
Part-time or?
going back to the staffing, I'm still trying to understand this. We started 2022, we answered approximately 650 calls for fire and emergency services. This year we answered 1,535. We have one of the smallest staffs in the area to be able to answer that call volume. We are answering more calls right now than another municipality that I've worked in with far less of a budget, upholding the same level of service with far fewer people. This position doesn't just, you know, sit and dream about emergency management. They help to ensure that our monthly reports are done, that we get all of our reporting in the computer. They support our administrative captain. It's an integral part of our department. All these volunteers we talk about bringing in, that's one of the people that's their liaison and tries to bring them in appropriately. Me being able to go back to a full-time focus on fire and emergency management is fantastic, and I can't wait. I am still stressed to the absolute max. I don't have a deputy fire chief, similar to Chief Hill, and we are one of the busiest departments in the county. We are putting out a lot right now. We're burning our people out, and losing another person that supports logistics for all of those people that are responding to 1,500 calls every year is going to make it even worse. And
Hey, Chief, I understand where you're coming from. I don't know if anyone else does. We can't, I don't like the idea of laying someone off when we need that person, okay? We're driving at that, I'm opposed to it. I'm opposed to a lot of these things here, but the thing is, I'm opposed to lose any employees, okay? If we can keep, are you gonna be losing firemen or anybody else? Everything else intact?
No.
You're talking about, I know who you're talking about. I'm pretty
Sure.
sure I know who you're talking about.
Right.
And I don't like to see that person get laid off. It's a solid person, the person helps us.
Right, and it affects our emergency operations. The other gap that, we haven't fully found a solution for is code enforcement as well, code violations. And if that individual, administrative is not what that individual is going to be doing, that's another potential gap that they could fill, that our fire staff that has experience in that.
Code enforcement officer 3 years ago.
Pardon?
Who was our code enforcement officer 3 years ago?
It was Troy Lucas. Troy Lucas.
I thought our township manager took some of that responsibility. I know John Stickles was our code enforcement officer.
He was our zoning officer.
No, Jim
Okay.
Barnes.
All right,
Yeah.
well, and our township manager.
Brandon was our zoning officer also.
Okay, Brandon was too, which is a former township manager. The township manager that we hired does have a background in that and has expired certifications that he can get done. He may be helping do some of that. We're trying to get everything brought back home, and then we can go from there and expand
Sure.
from there.
But even if you look at, we no longer have a building inspector, we're using a third party. There's time that goes into the billing and processing of that. We've been putting it on fire staff. At some point, that can't work.
But that's what we hired the director of zoning and planning for.
She is also at her max. Our employees here are,
We never had
Top
somebody in
notch.
that position until a year and a half ago. So I mean,
I totally understand that. And respectfully, you're one of the people that I've heard frequently say that we did a lot of things incorrectly.
that's correct.
And it takes a lot more time to try to do this stuff right. And I agree with you. There were a lot of things that were missed.
And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Jordan. We're still doing a lot of things incorrectly.
That may be the
And
case.
a lot of that didn't get fixed. And this board, and a lot of that through Mark Murphy's effort, worked to find the problem
Sure.
and correct the problem.
Absolutely.
And we made corrections so that problem won't happen going forward. Yes.
Sure.
And there's one thing about South Trevane, they never learn from their mistakes. We're gonna start learning from our mistakes.
I think that's unfortunate to say about the current staff that's here because they're
In the
bought in.
past.
Okay,
In the past.
fair. Yep.
And you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And they keep coming to light.
Yep.
I mean, how much money have we paid to fix the mistakes? A lot. If we had all that money back, this wouldn't be a problem.
All right, so let me ask you a question. So, all right, just to recapitulate, I know it's getting kind of late. So we've already talked to the chief of police. He's agreed, but has no issues with some changes, correct, chief?
Yeah, I think I got the full process on all
Yeah.
those issues.
And same thing with Kent Montgomery. He has no issues. What issues do we, because we're gonna come back Thursday, and we have to have a budget to review one last time and advertise. And once because I know the question was asked, we have to advertise that budget. We can't, then once we advertise, we can only make so many changes. So whatever you have for Thursday,
Well,
it's gotta be pretty much concrete.
all right, so part-time wages, back on the fire.
Good night, Bob.
Do you want to go there or no?
Yeah, we could bring those down to 70 where they originally were.
70?
Yeah,
Because the 94 and then because. of
Correct.
this-
Yeah.
Okay.
correct.
Good night,
All
Bob.
Payroll taxes.
Again, those probably should be increased.
Yeah, that's what I have, but what do you think?
We have a calculation in the,
Yeah,
you're at
it's in my
50.
spreadsheet.
You're at 56.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go to 68, but
64.
I would say 64 would be good for there.
And then I think we covered, we did the benefits, we did the pension, right?
We did.
So I think we took care of
Yep,
all of that.
correct.
The only thing I can say about the stipend thing is we can't compare ourselves to other fire departments in the area because do they have a brand new ladder truck? Do they have the staffing? Do they have 2 firehouses? You know, not everybody has everything. I hate when
Sure.
people compare themselves to their neighbors and look where they're going on vacation, look at their cars. Meanwhile, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely.
So
And that's one of the reasons I
So
said
we
they don't
can't
have.
compare- Maybe we'll fail on something. We won't be up to par with everybody, but we can't
Sure.
always try to keep up.
Absolutely. And that's not my intent here. It's to provide good service to the folks who live here. Just for numbers sake too,
So
so
12,000 for stipend?
that might be a Dennis question that violates the
We
contract
committed, we
with.
No, it
committed that in our last agreement.
It doesn't violate. It says 12,000 if funds are available. So 12,000.
And to increase $2,000 annually.
Doesn't say that.
It just says increase if funds are available. I mean, right now, we're gonna be scratching.
Says we'll budget minimum of 12,000 for volunteers.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it says here.
So I did 12. I mean, like I said, it's hard to find someone that's volunteer. I
Right, yeah.
Tell you guys.
And that's what I was gonna share. So last year, for example, and again, these are all different level of firefighters. Our firefighters who are driver operators or who can complete a full function on the fire scene get a higher stipend than,
Sure.
what a support member might be. But total last year, we had about 595 extra hours of staffing and it cost us that $7,000. So came out to about $10 an hour or so that they were getting.
How many volunteers got 1099s?
I don't know off
Well,
the top of my
not
head.
about how many. It's not about how many, dollar amount. So if you're at 7,100. Did we
Right.
do
I
7,100?
haven't had time to do the
1099?
1099s because I've been working on this budget quite
So as long as
honestly.
we,
But yeah, anyone making over
Over
$600.
$600 will get a 1099.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully
Gotcha.
this week. We'll see.
so then we're caught up other than our revenue and.
Well, community development, I wanted to go over it
Okay.
real quick.
All right, yep.
Because I
Thanks,
think the
George.
wages are high there. 413, because we only have the one person in that department now. So the wages should be 76,500 there instead of 130.
What line item are we looking at?
413.12 right after fire. Or right after emergency services, sorry. So there's fire.
413.12.
413.12.
All right, so basically wages full-time, that's for the,
All right, so community development, yeah. 413.12.
So 76.5. Don't have any part-time wages, payroll taxes, I believe will be 58.50 for there.
So you're 76,500 for the wages.
Correct.
All right.
Then 58.50 for taxes. I have it written down, but I still need to look at my spreadsheet. Benefits are gonna be 17,650 for that position.
All right, one sec. Benefits, go ahead.
Benefits 17,650. And then pension is the 17,010 because it's based on previous years. It's not based on this year. So next year, that'll go down. But not this year.
Benefits was 17,650.
Yes, and then
And
the
then
pension 17,010 based on the MMO.
17,100.
010, what it was,
All right, gotcha.
what we'd asked for. Yeah, I don't know, office supplies and things, they're in this building. We use the same office supplies. If you want to bring those down, that's fine. She basically said she could live with all of this, so the only thing she was looking at, we were talking about was code sis. We don't know what that's gonna look like yet. Because they're gonna be keeping some of the building permit money and are they billing us Are we sending them 50%? We don't know how that's all gonna work yet.
We're gonna have another meeting with them, so to go over everything, you'll be included in that, so you understand.
Okay,
how that
and do we
should be
need to
done
add
going
a line
forward.
item for that? That's why I wanna know what's
Yeah.
happening there, so.
Another suggestion to look at there, our codification is about 3.5, 4 years behind.
Yeah.
So remember what that quote is, perhaps, that's about $4,000.
I think so.
that I guess theoretically would be under professional services.
And at the rate we've been updating and changing and updating URDs and creating ordinances and everything else. Thank you, Jordan. That's a very good point. And that really, once we get through the middle of this year, that really, if it's at all possible, does need done.
So. And then if you want to look at admin while we're on expenses, this won't take me long.
You
For-
get the quote for that, so it can be put in the budget. please. And check and see if it's updated, if it needs updated. That's important. Thank you again.
What's it called, Jordan? Update.
I didn't realize that was that many years. Just so everybody understands what that is, when the township changed the rules, we don't always have the rule changes available to everybody conveniently. And that's when you codify things, everything's merged in and put together, so it's easy for the public and easy for people coming into the township and want to develop, understands our current rules.
Are we ready for admin?
Yeah.
I'll be quick.
Yeah.
What line item?
So looking at full-time wages, it can actually come down a little bit.
On part-time? Is that what you said?
Well, it's gonna depend, because we split the wages with emergency management. So if we're gonna keep that position, it does need to say it's at 165.8. So that's just something you're gonna have to think about. The wages are already calculated in there for that position, so. But part-time wages are too low. Current position is at 24,350 for part-time wages. I put part-time wages in budgeted for 31.5 because I was dreaming, so if we can at least keep the current position, that'd be great. Taxes, I think we're okay with the 33.3. Benefits did go up. Do we need 45? Probably not. But I would at least bring that up to 40. I'm worried about the minor equipment for admin because a few of our computers are getting very old and slow. So I don't know, Jordan, how many we would need to replace. At least one would be nice, but.
I think even if we got that to like 4,000, we probably have enough to get one or two of them.
So, yeah, if we could,
It'll probably still cover the copier fees.
right. If we could at least bump that up to 4,000, that would be nice from the two. A question on advertising printing. We had budgeted 18,000 because we were doing the newsletter. Are we doing the newsletter or are we not doing the newsletter?
I would sure like to see us start doing that via email. And it's something that brings the cost down significantly, but still allows us to communicate with our residents. I think it's important we communicate with our residents.
Oh, I absolutely agree. We
but
need
the-
a
but the
newsletter,
postage is astronomical.
but I don't know about, can we get emails?
Why couldn't the newsletter be put on our
So-
webpage?
Okay, but.
And it could.
And it is.
And that's a lot, that's no cost.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the email like would be.
But our advertising and printing was at 8,555. We want 18,000.
We put 18,000 because we've only did the news, we did the
Yeah,
newsletter.
they had wanted to increase that. Mr. Ziegler was looking at, I think, at least 3 times a year.
I thought he was looking at quarterly and then he said 3, so
That's a.
that's why I went to 18 because we don't know what the cost is gonna be. But if we're gonna do email and just one line,
And we have another huge issue. We have records in 2 locations, and a lot of the issues of the past are coming back upon us, and we need quick access to those records. Unfortunately, we can't find them. They should be here. They better be here. We can't find them. And we're going to have to probably spend some money to get that done, to get them back from the maintenance building, get them in the building, and get them organized in such a way that we can find them when we need them. And Jolene started on that under Jeff Ziegler, and she's done a lot. She's got a lot to do.
there's a lot to do.
Yes, there's a lot to do.
So
Um,
back to this advertising. What did we not do in 2025? Did we spend?
We didn't
8,500?
do the newsletter as many times as was planned.
We only sent it out once.
We only sent
We
it
sent
out one
once, and
time.
We want to do it, what, quarterly?
That's what the
And
talk
that's gonna
was,
get you to 18,000?
or 3 times a year. How much
Because it's going out to each firm.
3,500, yeah,
Okay.
$4,000.
to print it? But if we're not gonna print it,
I don't know, I mean, whatever.
if we're gonna email it and not print it, that brings our cost down, so.
Okay.
I'll put it on our webpage.
So 9,500 if we do that?
That will be fine. And, I mean, everything else in here, I think we can live with. Not sure about the dues memberships, because I'm not sure what all, Mr. Stefanski's want to be involved with there. It was dropped, like this past year, we
I
spent
got it,
3,100.
3,300.
Make it 31, so
33.
33. And I think that was it for me, other than a few of the revenues.
What about the grant rating?
Let me go back.
We spent 5,000 and we're projecting 2,500. I mean, 2,250.
Why did we
Are
bring
we-
that down,
Are we
Jordan?
lowballing?
That would be based on what the board would like to do. What are you expecting to use grant writing services going into this next year?
Who's the grant writer?
That paid for, I believe, the dog park maybe.
Yeah, but who's the grant writer?
It was KLH for.
Well, and I think that that's important. There are professional people to go out and solicit funds for townships. And I think that that's one thing that we could do to really help us.
So leave it at 5,000?
We can leave it at
Match what we did
5,000.
last year?
Or add 3 to it.
So that's adding 3 if we put it at 5.
Leave it at 5.
Yeah.
I meant on top of the 5.
On top of the
That's-
5?
no,
You're thinking 8,000?
Well, you know, if you can hire somebody to go out and bring you in $200,000 in grant.
right.
And a lot of that, it pays for itself, you know, and a lot of that, there's opportunities for the fire department that, you know, it's just like everything else. We know it needs done, but somebody has to take the time to do it. And that is best done by a professional that does it every day.
So what do we want to do? 5 or 8? 8, 5?
One other note, some of our grant writing has been coming out of engineering as well, if you look at it that way.
Right.
Nexon, for example.
Yeah.
5?
It's better than 2,250.
Um, 40748. Jordan and I talked about this. We're gonna have to go with a different platform because of our website.
It would
Why
actually
is
be The same platform, but they're going away with the current platform that we have, so the new one's slightly more expensive, which is why we did budgeted the 4,500.
How soon is it going away?
We're close. We gotta work on it, you know, January, February.
I think you have one of the nicer websites in the county for municipalities. It's somewhat easy for me to navigate.
It's, for the most part, it's easy for us from the back end to update it.
Yeah, yeah.
33. 45.
So 45, we said.
Okay.
It's gonna be needed for it. All right, that's it for expenses.
All right.
You said revenue.
Yes.
Okay, what revenues?
The revenues, very first one, 30110.
Hang on.
That one goes up every year. So,
You always underestimate revenue.
yes, I know that, but this one's, I think, very
Okay.
underestimated. I don't know, but that's my opinion. Because the actual for this year was 1.378.
Yeah, but I put you to 1,370.
Okay. And, I mean, interest on the bank accounts, you can leave it at 42. This year, every year that goes up a little bit, but this year we did bring in 51,763.
You jump to
What line item we on?
That is 34101.
that's a lot.
Interest rates are going down though.
Yeah.
So,
So
I mean, we could, if you want to leave it at 42 and underestimate, I'm fine with that.
342.
42,000, you said. What next?
Earned income still at 2.98.
Who are we talking to?
Earned income.
Earned income, it's
1021.
31021.
Hang on.
21021. Actuals, you had 2,000,084. Budgeted 2.2. Now we're going with 2.1. It's going more than what we,
31081.
he's looking at 310.21. Earned income, is that what you're looking at, earned income tax?
Okay.
Because I think that was one of the other ones that we looked at.
We did, yeah.
You received 2,084,000.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where I put it at.
And he has 2,180,000 is what I
You
see
have
there.
2180.
And again, that goes against my,
Well, no, I actually took it to the exact number from last year. Well, minus the 632. So I have it at 2,084,000 flat.
The next page, 34220. We don't have an oil and gas lease. However, we do need to add
The world.
the royalties, which I added as 384. I'm adding a budget number 384 and I put it at 5,359.
Well, what's that on? That's on Billy Bell.
That's on Billy Bell,
You
yes.
started collecting on Billy Bell, September, October, November, December. 'Cause
Right,
I'm
so,
on the same well pad.
so it could, I mean, it's definitely gonna be more than the 5,000, but I was going by what he said, so we could do
So, yeah,
8.
It's gonna be-
Definitely gonna be at least 8.
That's been coming down too, unfortunately. That's a new well, so maybe it'll do it.
you have 15,
You do a little better.
you have 15 years.
Yeah,
Timeline on it.
I took it to 15. Maybe I'm being too.
So that 5,300 was just from 3 months.
Yeah, we didn't get very many checks this year, so.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been like October, November, December.
It might have
Three,
been.
maybe 4 checks at the most.
So, think we received two
So
payments,
15,000?
so I would be comfortable with 15 if that was just for,
I think it will.
One
At
quarter.
least for next year. I mean, it'll back off.
and I just wanted to point out, the police contracted, because Drew didn't mention it and I didn't think about it, 36215. Although Drew's overtime looks bad by itself, he does get paid back for a lot of that overtime. So that's what that 36215 is. This year alone brought in 27,192. So that's basically paying for a lot of that overtime when they're fixing a road and they need a police officer, or Tanger wants somebody extra for Black Friday, or
It actually was our most expensive overtime category, was contracted overtime, which we do bill higher officer rate.
so I just wanted to point that
So
out.
it brought in what?
27,192. That's at
Yep,
36215.
I got you at 27. You
So
were at 25.
25?
No, that's where you were.
Yeah, that's what we budgeted, it's 25. So
He's got you at 27.
27.
yeah, we got in this year 27. Do
I have you at 27.
you want to do 27 again, Drew, or are you comfortable with that, or you not?
Well, that was what it was this past
This
year. I
past
can
year.
trend it and get you a number. I certainly have it back to 2019. So.
Okay, I just don't want to over. And I think that's the only ones that I wanted to point out. I think we're good.
Who handles the escrow accounts there?
The escrow,
Yeah, who handles the escrows?
Lisa,
Lisa?
I mean, we do, I don't have it with me, the escrows, but
Yeah, I think.
we
I
did
wanna-
move all the holding tanks, just
the
so
escrow-
you all
the
know
escrow-
that.
Not the holding tanks. We have a policy,
Right,
an escrow policy
Yes.
whereby engineering attorney fees are reimbursed. Are
Yes.
we following up on that?
yes, we are.
Okay, because I'll have someone in my office call Lisa to make sure we're getting reimbursed the correct amount.
Yes. And she sends them out bills once a month, yes.
All right.
And we did move all the holding tank escrows into the escrow account, so all escrows are in the escrow account now.
And please, you get a bill from his office or the engineer's office, if there's a question, pick up the phone and call them.
Well,
Let's be sure that we can pass on whatever we should be passing on
Right.
fairly to the developers, and the taxpayers aren't picking up the bill for that.
because I know we instituted that policy, 2 or 3 years ago. So we just make sure that if we're doing something for Burkett Manor or for, what's it called, Meadowbrook or Meadows Landing?
Meadows Landing.
We want to make
Gets billed
sure
in
that
that
those
escrow.
costs for the engineer and the attorneys being reimbursed.
And she does, she goes over those bills with Kristen.
Well, I'm gonna have someone in the office call tomorrow to talk about this.
Okay,
Anything else?
No, I mean, we can go over other things. I can stop in and see you or something before Thursday.
okay.
So we're gonna have, so we've gone through this with everybody here tonight. We need to have this thing in place. Today is Monday. We meet on Thursday. I think it should be, if you can get it done by, I know this is, you're good on the computer, not like me or Russ or George
Or me.
or thing, but we need to get this put together hopefully by Wednesday. Can you do that? If not before, and then we can have it ready to go, and then we can finish it up, and then we can advertise. Now, keep in mind, we're looking at reopening the budget. Once we get that, but once you have that final thing advertised, you have a certain limitation, and the code says, like, so much percentage and all that, you can't go above and below, but whatever we have, we're gonna be stuck with pretty much come February 15th or earlier. You understand that?
Yep. Is that a new rule?
What's that?
I'm just kidding.
All right?
All right, okay.
Mr. Michael, what about Park and Rec?
That's not my, it's, what do you want, asking about Park and Rec?
I mean, we're scheduled to have a meeting tomorrow.
Gentlemen?
We're losing 48,000 a month in 2024. You tell me.
Pardon me?
We lost $48,000 a month in 2024.
Well, I just need a confirmation. Are you getting rid of us or not? Or
The
what?
decision
what-
hasn't been
what
made.
if- What if,
Have your meeting.
based on what? Like, we can't plan anything if we don't know what kind of money we're looking at. I mean, I don't have a tree growing in my yard full of money.
And thank you for bringing that up. One of the biggest comments that's made to me from the general public is, the people that built South Main can't afford to live here anymore. And actually, I had somebody that worked for the township mention to me that their mother had mentioned that to them. And, you know, this is about everybody. You know, people that are living on their retirement income, you know, a lot of the people that live here, they retired on 1995 wages, not 2025. And I think that needs to be reminded, you know, my mantra is back to basics. Let's get the basics right. Hopefully we can get that all, get the fire department, whatever they need, because, you know, I have a couple rules in my life and all the nonprofits I've been involved with. You never yell at a volunteer, you take care of your volunteers. And I think that's something that I hope that this board moving forward can only get better at.
All right.
It still doesn't answer the question. No, it still doesn't answer the question. Just say it, Jeff, yes or no.
It's not up to me. It's up to 5 people.
Well,
George, do you think we should still have Park and Rec?
I mean, there's four of you here.
Yeah, we can't
And we know-
vote, we can't vote on it.
I'm not asking you to vote on it.
I would like to see Park and Rec.
Thank you.
You know,
I'm sure you would, Russ. You were part of the people losing $48,000 a month.
everything we have done for 2 years.
And if you look, Jeff, we didn't
We
even
have done-
spend half of the budget last year. We didn't even spend half of it.
We give a lot of
You
money
spent-
back.
you spent
She
40
works and she sends
Yeah, you
letters.
spent
48.
48?
Yeah, we
Okay.
were budgeted 10,000.
That's what I thought I've seen, yes.
And we only spent 4,870 bucks. So we spent less than
So
half of what we
do you
budgeted.
need 10,000?
Now, how
We
much
would
did the
like
road
you
department
to
spend
budget
on
that.
Parks and Rec?
And then we will give back what we don't use. She gets so many sponsors that,
Yeah, like our community day, I got so many sponsors, vendors, what have you. We spent probably,
$1,000.
yes, 1,000, not more than $1,000 on community day because I went out and reached for sponsors and-
Okay.
and worked my tail off so that we could have those things covered. You know,
And we're all volunteers.
Yes, yes.
You know, and the reason why we spent more money the year before is because we bought 2 ADA swing sets for the parks, because our parks don't have anything for its children with handicap. There's nothing for them to do there. So that's why we spent all that money out of the budget the previous year. We did that for them. Because we got handicap parking spaces, we don't have anything, and for special needs children, and special need groups rent our community park. So when they go there, those kids don't have anything to utilize there. And that's what we spent that money on. And we wanted to do it again this year.
We were told we weren't allowed.
I told you that.
We were told we couldn't spend the money because we didn't, what I didn't understand was last year.
Because why?
The year before, let me get to it, Jeff. The year before, we met, our meetings are always the 3rd Tuesday of the month. And our meeting was backed up again because we had, the board had took our day or whatever. We decided to buy those swing sets, and that was right before Christmas, and we were able to buy those swing sets before the end of the year. This year, we met and we tried to do it, and we were told, no, it was cut off on the 15th, and we were totally unaware of it.
And that's because of how the credit cards they run, so if it was via credit card, we could have put it on.
Yeah, so we were unaware of it, but that wasn't an issue the year before, so nobody communicated any of that to us. Or we would have visited that the month before.
I think we need to maybe consider having, I think community day is important. And you have to understand, this isn't about the hard work you all done. That was never questioned. You know, that's not the issue. The issue is, let's get back to basics. The most important thing that we do is have a good police department, have a good fire department, and have our roads taken care of when we need them. And they do that. They do an excellent job. Every one of those departments.
I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah, and
I
then, and
don't
that's,
disagree with
that's
you.
what this is about. Maybe we could consider putting a budget together for this is the 250th anniversary of this country. Maybe we could consider having a really big community day that everybody worked.
Not without a Park and Rec, you're not. If you're getting rid of us, you're not gonna have it.
Why can't you give them half the
It's
money?
simple. It's a simple yes or no, Jeff. Are we gonna be in existence or are we not? Our scheduled date to have our monthly meeting is tomorrow.
Should we cancel it?
Don't waste our time.
That won't be made till Thursday night, that decision. There's a lot of decisions yet to be made.
At the meeting last week, Parks and Rec was added as the person, another group to be addressed tonight.
Yeah.
Look at the minutes.
Yeah, when you had your reorganization meeting on January the 6th, you voted in another member for 5 years.
Mhm. And then after that, we voted to reopen the budget.
And you knew you were going to open the budget at the same time, Jeff. So why did you let the member continue their membership? Why didn't you table it?
Because for the first time in many years, we're trying to operate as a cohesive board, so everybody has input into it. You know, and you know, we don't all have to agree, but we all need to have input, and that hasn't happened here for a long time. Sometimes people's been on the 2 side of that, and some people's been on the 3.
You've argued against everything.
What's that?
The last 2 years.
$1,000 a month. I think that's okay. You can't do that. The American Rescue Plan money balanced our budget, was it 3 or 4 years ago? Things were so bad here, poor Marie quit because things were so bad.
That's what Jordan brought up. He said how we brought in, it was the 23, that was $600,000 they found laying on the ground. It was allocated for COVID. I yelled about it. I said, give it back to Congress. The Treasury Department said you can use it for whatever you want, which they didn't have the authority to do, but everybody did it. We picked up 600,000 on the ground and made our budget work.
Yeah.
It was free money.
Mysterious.
And then now we're all paying because of inflation.
That's exactly right.
It's around and around we go.
We have to make our choices, and my choices are going to go to police, fire, and the road department, period. You know, now then let's hope we get our shit back in order, start getting some grants, quit paying interest on all this stuff. You know, like I said earlier, if you lived your household budget the way South Germain spent money the last 10, 15 years, you'd be filed for bankruptcy 4 times. That's the long and the short of it. It's not personal, it's business. Huh?
I said, but we have not.
But we have not, yes. We wrote a book on how to rob Peter to pay Paul, did we not, Marie?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you look at this year's budget coming in, we're doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, we're doing well. Last 2 years.
Well, now, wait a second here. 2 years ago was 2024. You lost $48,000 a month, Russ. Did you know we lost $48,000 a month in 2024?
But we still had a good fund balance at the end. So
you're not supposed to spend it.
Thanks to Burger Banner.
Yeah.
All right, so where are we
I
at?
mean, if you guys want to start splitting hairs on mistakes that have been made in the past, you know what? You could read the book that I've written the last 2 years.
I just want to move forward at this point.
Thank you. And that's what we want to do.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.